£5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 3 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you all the way through until 6 p.m. What a day in politics. Here's what's coming up on today's show. Breaking news, Health Secretary Wes Streeting has dramatically resigned from the government and steamed into Sir Keir Starmer, blasting, "You will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election," and criticise him for sacking staff rather than taking responsibility for his own mistakes. Has Streeting fired the starting pistol on the leadership race for the Labour Party, and could others such as Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband or Andy Burnham launch their own plots to stab the Prime Minister between his shoulders and oust Sir Keir Starmer from office? Or will Sir Keir still cling on to power for a bit longer? Live pictures there of the stormy skies over Westminster. It's once again a non-stop Starmer drama, and for the next few hours, GB News will give you a ringside seat, live from the Bear Pit, live from the heart of Westminster. Don't go anywhere, anything could happen. Of course, our top story today, so far, Wes Streeting has resigned as Health Secretary in a significant and major blow to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Mr Streeting said in his scathing resignation letter that it was clear Keir Starmer will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election. He then added, "Where we need vision, we have a vacuum." Big questions are now mounting over whether the former Health Secretary could launch a leadership bid, and if others, including the Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, the former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, and the Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, could join in this leadership race, as well as a host of other names. Live pictures there of that door at Downing Street. And moments ago, the Education Secretary Bridget Phillipsson, Wes Streeting said Wes Streeting's resignation from government is an opportunity for Labour to draw a line under all of this. Well, that's one way of looking at it. Let's now speak with GB News' Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood, live from Downing Street. Tom, it was an absolute clown show yesterday, and somehow it's just got even more ridiculous. What's the latest?
Well, Martin, it was what everyone was waiting for all day. A couple of hours ago, we finally got that message through from the Health Secretary, I should now say the former Health Secretary, that Wes Streeting has resigned from this government. Now, allies of Wes Streeting throughout yesterday were intimating this potential outcome, but of course, everything was in this strange level of suspended animation due to the King's speech, due to the grandiosity of the state opening of Parliament. And yet today it feels like we are now on a new footing. Yes, we have seen one cabinet resignation, but let's not forget that follows 4 ministerial resignations and 6 PPS resignations, the lowest rung of the sort of payroll vote. We've seen almost 100 Labour MPs demand that the Prime Minister must go, and that is now added to by Wes Streeting's name himself. All eyes now are on what else happens with cabinet ministers. Who else in the cabinet might resign? And crucially, Martin, as you said in your introduction, what do we hear from Angela Rayner, from Ed Miliband, from Andy Burnham? None of these individuals have spoken since Wes Streeting resigned at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. So we really are now looking at what could happen in the next hour, 2 or 3. People will have had time now to process Wes Streeting's resignation, read it through, perhaps even start to write letters of their own. This is the real crunch time now in terms of what the next steps are, in terms of what happens next.
Tom Holder, an astonishing broadside on Reform UK and in particular Nigel Farage, talking about a dangerous English nationalism represented by Nigel Farage. Isn't it funny how Scottish nationalism, Welsh nationalism, Irish nationalism is always something to be supported? They would never dare criticise that, but they're steaming into English nationalism, calling this defeating racism. Don't you think there'll be a lot of MPs on that list? 60% actually of the people who want Sir Keir Starmer to stand down are at risk of losing their seats to Reform UK. What we have here once again is that fatal error of the left, calling anybody who disagrees with you racist, including millions of voters.
It was a message that I think will have stuck in the back of the neck of many people out there in the country, many people who have stopped voting for the Labour Party and have switched in their millions to the Reform Party. However, you've got to think about who the audience for this letter actually was. And the audience, it appears, is not the people out there in the wider country who've stopped voting for the Labour Party. The audience is those who continue to vote for the Labour Party, indeed, who pay monthly subs to the Labour Party. So Wes Streeting there really trying to reach out to the Labour Party selectorate, most likely, trying to get his message to colleagues in the Labour Party rather than talking to the country. But it is funny that you mentioned this sort of English nationalism that Wes Streeting alleges the Reform Party represents. Because, of course, it wasn't just in England that the Reform Party won seats. On Thursday, people went to vote not just in England, but in Scotland and Wales too. And now a man called Dan Thomas is the leader of the opposition in Wales. He's the leader of the Reform Party in Wales. Wales, in the Senedd, the second largest party is that from Reform. And equally in Scotland, by the number of seats, the joint second largest party is Malcolm Offord's Reform Scotland. So when it comes to the scale of the victories that Reform had in the local elections and indeed national elections in Scotland and Wales, it wasn't just success in England that Reform had. They won the second highest number of seats in Scotland and in Wales. So that is a really significant sort of point to make when it comes to this claim of English nationalism. Although I do see the point that Wes Streeting was trying to make there, that he was saying that on sort of all fronts in all of these countries, there is a more nationalistic challenge that Labour faces. If you look up in Scotland, the SNP won big. In Wales, Plaid Cymru won big. And in England, Reform won big. Farage is trying to sort of link all of these different forms of nationalism. I think perhaps it would be a British nationalism with Reform rather than an English one, but still trying to link these all together and say that this is the challenge that the Labour Party faces, a battle on all fronts.
Tom Holt, thank you very much, sir. Live from Downing Street. The afternoon is young, yet more chaos could unfold. We'll be back to you throughout the rest of the show. Thank you very much, Tom. Now, let's speak with the Labour Party MP for Walley Hatfield, and that is Andrew Lewin. Andrew, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. Let's start, if I could, with a stinging line from Wes Streeting's resignation letter, where we need vision. We have a vacuum. And we all know what fills a vacuum. Chaos. It's one of the first laws of physics. And that's the point. Since almost the second or third week of Keir Starmer's Labour government, it's been utter and abject chaos. You promised that would stop. It's getting worse.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for having me on the show. Look, my position on this has been consistent since this started on Monday. I think one of the worst things we could do as a Labour Party would be to have a leadership contest now, to turn inward and to have a process that would be chaotic, because it would play out for weeks and that would prevent us from focusing on governing. And I know my constituents in Walley Hatfield want the Labour Party to focus on delivering on the mandate that we were elected on less than 2 years ago.
Can I ask you about the comments that Wes Streeting said? And it's just echoing what the Prime Minister himself said in the aftermath of the Southport riots, where you seem to think everybody who disagrees with you is far right. It was a disastrous thing to say at the time, and Wes Streeting is saying the same thing again, a dangerous English nationalism represented by Nigel Farage and Reform UK. Defeating racism is the purpose of Wes Streeting. And the Prime Minister himself on Monday in that so-called reset speech, all it reset was his own irrelevance, let's be absolutely brutal, saying the same thing, dark, dangerous times lay ahead. When will the Labour Party wake up to the fact that millions of working-class people who want to be patriotic and support their country are not far right and are not racist?
Well, I don't think everybody who disagrees with the Labour Party is far right. I've never used that language. I think the biggest issue for our country is the economy. And one of the reasons why I'm against the leadership contest and why I'm supporting the Prime Minister is we've got to focus on the economy. And just today, we've had growth figures, 0.6% growth for the last 3 months, which is the fastest of any country in the G7. We're building the foundations to turn the country around. That's what I want to be talking about. I'm very happy to have a debate
I'm sure you do want to talk about that, Andrew. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening because they look at Downing Street and they see chaos. They say a government imploding in front of our very eyes. No one's interested in the GDP or NHS performance. I'm sure you'd like people to talk about that. You're transmitting, but nobody is receiving because they see a government imploding in front of our very eyes. And you promised us, you promised the nation, after 14 years of Tory chaos, the adults will be back in control. You're acting like it's a circus.
Look, it's not my job to defend those people who have called for a leadership election in my party, because whilst I have respect for every single one of my colleagues, I've said from the outset that I think they're wrong to do that, because we should be focused on the issues that matter to the country. And I'm certain that people who watch GB News do care about the economy. They do care about NHS waiting lists, the bread and butter issues that matter to all of us. So that's why my plea has been to colleagues is to think again, to pull back from the brink here, to get back behind the Prime Minister and to deliver on a mandate.
It's not going to happen.
Was a 5-year mandate.
Andrew, that's not going to happen. Andrew, that's not going to happen. And with respect, you start to sound a bit like Comical Ali. Do you remember him? So there's nothing to see here. We are defeating them, Andrew. This government is falling apart before our eyes, and you're in a state of denial.
I'm not saying there's nothing to see here. I'm saying that this has been a really bad week for the Labour Party because we've turned inwards. But there is a big judgment to make now. If we go through with this and have a leadership contest, that will play out for weeks or months, and that would be a much bigger error. We've got a chance to think calmly and say, actually, no candidate has got 81 votes. There is no leadership contest as we speak this afternoon. As we speak this afternoon, I've been doing a number of media shows over the last couple of days, and I keep being told it's all inevitable, it's all going to happen, and it hasn't happened. So I know that there are colleagues thinking hard about what to do, and my ask of them is to think about what do our constituents want, and they want us to focus on doing the job we were elected to do. And I hope that we can draw a line under this as quickly as possible.
Andrew, do you not think that people listening and watching this now will look at you as honourable and, I admire your gumption. You're standing by your man. It's a great quality. But you sound like somebody who's in a bunker, who's divorced from reality. Out on the streets of Mansfield, of Nottingham, around the coast, across the Red Wall, people are sick to the back teeth of a government that promised calm and has delivered nothing but chaos.
Well, I appreciate your words about me sticking behind the Prime Minister, which I will continue to do. And I think, you know, the community that I can comment on is the one that I represent in Welwyn Hatfield. And I can tell you that I've had a lot more emails from people saying, stick with the Prime Minister. We don't want another change of PM. I won my seat off the Conservatives, off Grant Shapps less than 2 years ago. And the message then was clear that they'd had enough of recycling through different Prime Ministers. They want some stability. And that's why the PM's got my support.
Can I show you a table of the 93 MPs who are asking for the Prime Minister to stand down? Let's get it on the screen now. And you can see at present, this is data analysis I did myself. It's off the electoral calculus database. There are 4 MPs out of 93 who would hold their seats if an election were held today. Andrew, 4. 56 would lose to Reform UK. You know that party that Wes Streeting just called racist and nationalist? 30 to the Green Party, 20 to the Green Party, 10 to the SNP, 2 to Liberal Democrats. Just 4 people would hold their seats if a general election was held today. The party is falling apart before our very eyes. And isn't this the problem? You can't agree which way to go. Wes Streeting today is as an anti-Farage campaigner. Well, great. 56 of those people who signed that letter are guaranteed to be annihilated. This is the point. You're a party that's split. You're more riven with factions than the Conservative Party during Brexit. And once again, I put it to you, into this vacuum will pour chaos.
Well, look, what you've showed me there are polls from the electoral calculus website. I know that. What I also know from history is that nothing is guaranteed, as your words are, from what the polls say. I remember in 2021, the Conservatives won the Hartlepool by-election. We were reading articles that Boris Johnson was going to dominate British politics for the next decade, and he was gone within a year.
Same Hartlepool that went all to Reform on Thursday night.
Look,
you know, Jonathan Brasher's wife was the chief counsellor. She lost her job. No, Jonathan Brasher's asked the Prime Minister to stand in Hartlepool. This is my point. You're in that perpetual state of denial, Andrew.
No, look, I might be new to Parliament, but I've been in politics for a while, and I think, I know that things can turn around. I also recognise we're in a tough moment. These were really, really tough results, but I think for the Labour Party's best interest, and most importantly, for the country's best interest, we don't need a leadership contest or more instability. We need to get behind the Prime Minister, focus on the issues and govern.
OK, Andrew Lewin, we'll leave it there. I just want to say again, honestly, I admire your fortitude and your gumption and your class. You've got good class to go on and defend your man like that. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Andrew Lewin, thank you. Good luck, mate. I think you're going to need it. Thank you. Now, moments ago, the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipsson, has been speaking about Wes Streeting's resignation, and here is what she had to say.
I can't speak for Wes. I think it's a real shame that he's made that decision, because I like and respect Wes. We've worked closely for many, many years. He was a brilliant cabinet colleague. I think he's done a great job as Health Secretary. I'm just sad. I'm sad he's come to that decision. I'd hoped not to be having this conversation, because I think Wes has got a huge amount to offer, and it's a shame that he's taken the decision to step away from cabinet. But that's his decision.
So there we go. It's keep calm and carry on. It's exactly the same message we heard there from Andrew Lewin. Politicians have to do that. They have to do that. They have to go out and defend their man. Who knows what they'll be promised. But I want to point this out to you as well. Bridget Phillipsson, there, the Education Secretary, 65% guaranteed to lose her seat to Reform UK. In fact, most of the entire Labour cabinet at present is going to be wiped out. All of them. Wiped out. Even the Prime Minister himself, in a lot of polls, will be losing his seat to the Green Party. Look at your screens now. This is data that I've done myself. These are the 93 MPs demanding that the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, stands aside. When you look at their constituencies right now, the polling, would they keep their seats or not? Look at the scores on the doors. This is a party imploding. And the worst nightmare, it's imploding in every direction. Left, right, centre. To the right, 60% of those MPs would lose to Reform UK. 56 MPs, boof. Presumably, their voters going for that racist, nationalist, dangerous, dark party called Reform UK. This is the point. If you're calling millions of voters racist, Why are they going to stick with your party? That's 56 seats, poof, gone up in smoke. Next on the list, the Green Party. To the left, the Green Peril. 20 MPs, 21.5% of the people that want Sir Keir Starmer to stand down want the party to tack to the left. In Scotland, annihilation. 10 SNPs would lose their seats. Members of the Scottish Parliament, beg your pardon, to the SNP, 2 to the Liberal Democrats, 2 to those Welsh nationalists. There's no Bible poured on Welsh nationalism. Good old Welsh nationalism. Be proud of Wales, but don't be proud of the English flag. It makes you a racist. It makes you divisive. It makes you Tommy Robinson in a suit. Disgusting rhetoric, in my opinion. Just four out of 93 of those MPs would hold their seats at present, and they're in some of the safest left-wing seats in the entire country. That's about, it's a fraction, 4% of Labour MPs would hold their seats if a general election were held today. And this is a party that's riven by division, that's crevicing to the left, crevicing to the right. They don't know who the leader is. They don't know what their plan is. And all they can do today, once again, is to call people who vote for Reform UK, who wiped them out, and 60% of their votes in the votes last Thursday, they're calling them racist, dangerous and dark times lay ahead. Look at the skies over Westminster now, those storm clouds gathering. What an apt metaphor. Do you remember how we were promised a government that would tread lightly on your lives? A government that would end all this chaos, this psychodrama. It's been abject psychodrama since day one. Wes Streeting went up the ladder today, but we don't know if he's firing blanks. Is he actually going to stand for leadership, or is he bottled it once again? He's trying to get Andy Burnham to come. We found out today, Andy Burnham, yesterday we were told, Russia and Manchester would stand down and allow him in. Now the MP is saying he's changed his mind. Angela Rayner, as if by magic, gets off her HMRC investigation on the day of the announcements. Oh, what a huge surprise that seemed. It seemed people are thinking that just doesn't smell right. Catherine Forsey, you joined me in the studio. Thank you for coming back. I've pulled you back from Downing Street, not just so you can get some heat into your cold kins.
Thank you.
But to get you into the studio to discuss this political storm, this abject, utter, farcical nightmare clown world.
I actually feel that we have fallen through the looking glass, because we all knew that after the elections it was a point of danger for the Prime Minister. And at the risk of admitting that I got this totally wrong, I didn't think they would go for it this week. And the reason I didn't think they would go for it this week is because there was no agreement on who should take the Prime Minister's place. I thought they would try to wait until they got Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, into a seat. That's certainly what a Cabinet Minister was telling me very recently was the plan. But then it just feels like they had a collective nervous breakdown. And Catherine West, the backbench Labour MP, who sort of kicked all this off at the weekend when she said to the Cabinet, you need to tell the PM to go or I'm going to mount a challenge, has literally been on the radio this afternoon saying, well, actually, the Prime Minister might win a leadership challenge, and hasn't even ruled out voting for the Prime Minister in that leadership challenge. So the whole thing is, as you say, they promised us to end the chaos. They promised to not do what the Tories did, the infighting, the swapping of Prime Ministers, and yet here we are.
Where's Keir? Where's the Prime Minister?
Well,
not normally shy about coming forward.
I've been
disappeared.
Talking to
like Paul Daniels has put a cape over him.
Talking to people in Number 10 all day, because I've been on Downing Street since 5:30, and the mood in the building has gone up and down and up and down. But this afternoon, Steve Reid, the Housing Secretary, arrived, and we thought, oh, what's going on? It was reported elsewhere that he was going out on a visit with the Prime Minister. Number 10 wouldn't confirm or deny that. And the Prime Minister has been going in and out round the back so the cameras can't see, understandably, because we're all going to shout at him. And in the lobby briefing, you know, they wouldn't sort of tell us what his movements were at all. So at the moment there is silence. The lobby briefing, the message again was, we are getting on with governing, and again, that he would challenge any rival.
I think the best place to look for the Prime Minister in at the moment is your nearest circus tent. I really do.
Well, he would say that this is what he wants, is to stay and deliver for the country, and that it's all these other MPs that are losing their heads. But, of course, you can understand why they are so concerned.
OK, thank you very much, Catherine, for coming back and joining me in the studio. More of you later on in the show. Still to come, more reactions to West Streeting's sensational resignation from government and what that now means for the future of the imperilled Keir Starmer. Can he cling on to power by his fingernails, or is it finally curtains for Keir? This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. 3:25 is your time now. A few moments ago, the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipsson, has been speaking about Wes Streeting's scything resignation letter, and here's what she had to tell us.
The Prime Minister has my full support, and I'm really sorry to see Wes go. He has been a brilliant Health Secretary. He's done a fantastic job, and we see that today with the NHS waiting list numbers that are really encouraging and what people want to see. But I fundamentally disagree with the position he's taken. I'm sad that he's gone, but I think this is now a chance for us to pause, take a breath as a party, and try and draw a line under all of this.
Do you agree with Wes Streeting when he says that where there should have been a vision with the Prime Minister, there was actually a vacuum instead?
No, I don't. And, you know, I do credit Wes with delivering some brilliant achievements in the NHS, and we're doing fantastic things across government. You know, just yesterday we had the King's Speech. We've also had really strong economic news this morning that shows the economy is growing, we're moving in the right direction, alongside those waiting list reductions and alongside the news I've been announcing today around increases in teachers in further education. So I'm focusing on getting on and delivering what the British people voted for. I know last week was really hard and I know people are really hurting, but we also have a responsibility to do what is right by the British people, focus on what they voted for, focus on what they want to see in their communities, not a period of further introspection.
We've seen now almost 100 backbench MPs call for the Prime Minister to go. 4 ministers have resigned, a cabinet minister has resigned. Shouldn't the Prime Minister now consider setting out a timetable for his departure?
The Prime Minister has my support in the job that he is doing, and he's got the backing of Cabinet too. And I do recognise where colleagues are coming from. Like them, I want us to do better. The Prime Minister gets it, I get it, and I get it very profoundly. You know, I had some very, very difficult local election results in my community just last week. I know people are feeling really sore, really hurting. But equally, I think the last thing that we need at the moment is a further period where we turn in on ourselves. We need to be getting on with the job that the British people elected us to do, not least when you see that actually the decisions we've been taking as a government are delivering great outcomes. The economic growth that the Chancellor was announcing and talking about this morning, the waiting list reductions, all of the work that we're doing on education. Just yesterday, announcing a bill in the King's Speech that will make sure that every child in our country can achieve and thrive. That's what the British people want us to be focused on. And I understand colleagues' concerns, but we have to not lose sight of what it is we're here to do.
But hasn't your party already turned in on itself? Isn't the genie out the bottle, and actually this is now a civil war in the Labour Party?
But quite reasonably, after a set of really difficult elections, people were really hurting. I totally get that. I felt that too. I felt absolutely awful on Friday at the scale of what we'd experienced as a party, so I'm not complacent about that for 1 second. But alongside that, I do think we now have an opportunity to draw a line, just to pause, to focus on what we need to do and not deliver more chaos. That is the last thing the British people want to see. We have a responsibility to the British people, and we should be focusing on how we deliver that.
But this is chaos, isn't it? You know, Keir Starmer promised that this government would tread more lightly on our lives, and here we are in the middle of chaos.
Look, it has been really difficult, and it's been massively disruptive. I'm not going to hide from that. But I think today we have a chance and an opportunity to pause, just to take a breath, and really seek to move on from this. I think that is the opportunity that we have in front of us.
Can you honestly say that all of your cabinet colleagues are behind Keir Starmer and they want him to continue as Prime Minister?
What I can say very clearly is that the Prime Minister has my full support, continues to have my full support, and he has the Cabinet behind him in the important job that he's doing, leading our country at a very unstable time when we face lots of challenges both at home and abroad. But what we're seeing is following on from the decisions that we've been taking as a government together, all colleagues within the Labour Party. We saw fantastic economic news this morning. We see waiting lists coming down, and we see big changes that I'm delivering in education. That's what I've been focused on today, doing the job, doing work around support for children with SEND, focusing on how we deliver what we've set out in the King's Speech just yesterday. And I think we do now have an opportunity, sad as I am, to see Wes leave the Cabinet. We have an opportunity just to pause, to reflect on where we are and to seek to move on.
But you're absolutely certain that Cabinet colleagues Yvette Cooper, Ed Miliband, Lisa Nandy, they're all behind the Prime Minister?
The Cabinet are behind the Prime Minister. I'm behind the Prime Minister.
All of the Cabinet?
What we all recognise, however, and this is true from Keir himself, the Cabinet, all of my colleagues in Parliament, we know we've got a really big job ahead of us. We know that. I'm not questioning that or, for 1 second. We know we had a really, really awful set of results, and it's a big responsibility on all of us to turn that around.
What do you think Wes Streeting's going to do next? Do you think he has enough MPs to support a leadership campaign?
Look, I'm not interested in any of that, frankly. Wes has been a great colleague. He's been a brilliant health secretary. I'm sad that he's no longer going to be doing that role. That's a decision that he made. I'm sorry that's the conclusion he reached, because I think he was doing a great job, and the numbers we've seen today in terms of NHS performance demonstrate that.
He's clearly been gathering the support of colleagues. Do you think he was plotting this for a long time?
Look, it's not for me to speak for Wes. Wes can speak for himself. All I can say is that, he's made the decision. I understand the decision he's made. I'm sad. I regret that he has come to that conclusion. I don't agree with him. It was a big call for him, but now I think there's a chance really just to pause on where we are and to focus on the country. We were elected not even 2 years ago. We won an election victory, and that is a huge responsibility that all of us carry at a time when we face challenges at home and challenges abroad. And what I'm focused on every day is delivering for the people of this country. That's what I've been doing today around how we drive forward our big plans around education to make sure that every child in our country can achieve all they're capable of. That's what we said yesterday in the King's speech, and that's what we need to get back to thinking about.
Are you personally hurt by his decision today, and do you think he has caused the instability that we've seen this week?
Look, I can't speak for Wes. I think it's a real shame that he's made that decision, because I like and respect Wes. We've worked closely for many, many years. He was a brilliant cabinet colleague. I think he's done a great job as health secretary.
Do you think he betrayed you?
No. I'm just sad. I'm sad he's made that. He's come to that decision. I'd hoped not to be having this conversation, because I think Wes has got a huge amount to offer, and it's a shame that he's taken the decision to step away from cabinet. But that's his decision.
When did you last speak to Wes Phillipsson?
I spoke to him yesterday.
Can you tell us about that conversation?
No.
Did he give any indication yesterday he was about to resign from government?
No, I'm not going to talk about private conversations. I was sat next to Wes on the front bench in Parliament. We chat all the time. I spoke to him yesterday, but conversations that you have with colleagues are private, and I'm not going to talk about what we discussed.
Does anybody else think Keir Starmer was the cameraman for that? Seriously, the Prime Minister has my full backing about 8 times. It's the year 2044, and Bridget Phillipsson is still saying the Prime Minister has my full backing. Let's now speak to the Liberal Democrats Member of Parliament for Cheadle and his party's Deputy Chief Whip, Tom Morrison. Tom, as a whip, how on earth would you whip this Labour Party? You'd probably be better off with a taser, wouldn't you?
I'm glad that I'm in my office and not the government offices at the moment. It's absolute chaos what's happening. Absolute chaos. And you know what? It's just so disappointing, and I'm so angry about it. We've got so many challenges ahead of us. We've got a social care crisis. We've got energy prices through the roof. We need a government that works, and they're just concentrating on themselves at the moment. It's despicable.
The party promised, and we keep saying this to any Labour parliamentarian who will come on, and thank heavens some of them are still coming on to face media. What a day they must be having. But we were promised, you were promised, the electorate was promised calm after the chaos of the Conservative Party. It was one of the main selling points of Sir Keir Starmer to turn the page on 14 years of chaos. We've got chaos now that's off the Richter scale.
You're absolutely right. And the way this is like an episode of Wacky Races. This is not an episode of the government. You've got runners and riders, left, right and centre. They're putting their personal ambition in front of the needs of the country. I'm appalled at what's happening, and I just wish there was a grown-up in government at the moment that would grab onto the reins and make things happen, because quite frankly our country needs it.
Tom, could I draw you on something that Wes Streeting said in his resignation letter? He was taking a very large pop at Nigel Farage and Reform UK, and probably actually echoing a lot of the sentiment of the Liberal Democrats and of your leader, Ed Davey, saying that it's a dangerous English nationalism presented by Nigel Farage. Do you agree? Do you agree that being proud of the St George's Cross, being proud of being English, is dangerous?
I think being proud of being English is dangerous, and I don't think being proud of being British is dangerous. But I do think that Nigel Farage plays into a very toxic culture within our country. I'll be completely clear of that. I think Nigel Farage is a populist. He comes up with easy solutions to very complex problems, and I've got no love for the man whatsoever, which is why I'm a Liberal Democrat. And my aim for the Liberal Democrats is to beat Reform at the next elections.
Well, I mean, at the moment, it'd be a biblical miracle for that to happen. The polling doesn't suggest that's going to happen. You know, I mean, maybe where your safe seats are, but on a nationwide poll, is that the point? You know, calling your political opponents racist might bode well in the leafy home counties, but it's deeply offensive to millions of people in the red wall.
I don't think people who vote Reform are racist at all, and I don't think there are. I don't think it's right to say that. But what I do think is that actually our country would be better suited with liberal democratic solutions to the issues that we're facing. I wouldn't think that calling people racist is not a way to win an argument. So I wouldn't subscribe to that at all.
Do you think it's just the politics now is this country is just kind of going into the gutter, and dare I say, like, your own leader is continually having a go at Donald Trump, continually having a go at Nigel Farage, continually playing the player and not the ball. The electorate wants a multitude of choices. We can see now politics has never been more split. And are you lowering the tone of the debate by attacking the man so much?
I think actually, if we're going to talk about Donald Trump, I don't think we've got long enough in this segment for me to go on that. I think Ed Davey's been absolutely spot on and shown leadership where Keir Starmer hasn't. We're actually saying that Donald Trump is a bully. Donald Trump has tried to bully our nation. I mean, we had I thought that the King did a fantastic job of going over there and putting our country first and highlighting the special relationship we had. But we already saw that Donald Trump was then putting words into the mouth of the King when the King's back was turned. It was absolutely appalling. I mean, Donald Trump is not a man that we should be sticking up for or protecting. He is, I think we can't count him as an ally, and I think Ed Davey's bang on by highlighting that.
OK, Tom Morrison, as the Deputy Chief Whip, can you please whip your leader to not wear lycra on the next election campaign? That would be very much appreciated. And then we'll paddle balls. Tom, thank you very much. A pleasure to have your company today. Have a great day. Thank you, Tom Morrison there from the Lib Dems. Still to come, can the Prime Minister hold on to power after his Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, dramatically resigned earlier on and could now potentially trigger a brutal, scathing leadership contest? And there might be more people declaring today and more resignations to come. Don't go anywhere. It could be a nightmare on Downing Street again for the Prime Minister. This is GB News.
Hello again. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we look ahead, we are going to see some of the showers easing, the winds becoming a bit lighter and feeling a little less cool, but we do still have low pressure over Scandinavia. We do still have a northerly flow across the country, so temperatures are staying a little bit below average for the time of year. And there are still plenty of showers around for a little while yet. Some heavy ones could see rainfall totals building up to 10-20 millimetres in some places if you get a fair few of those showers, but actually overnight most places turning largely dry. Showers though continuing for some northern, eastern and western coastal parts. Where we get some dry, clearer weather and you're sheltered from that brisk breeze from the north, while temperatures could drop mid to low single figures, maybe even a touch of frost in some prone spots first thing tomorrow morning. Through tomorrow then, across some parts of Scotland we continue with showers coming in from the north, so northern parts of Scotland seeing plenty of showers, drier further south, kind of south of the central belt, likely to be mostly fine through the start of the day. A similar picture across Northern Ireland, so showers in the far north, dry further south. But for England and Wales, there's actually a swathe of showery rain that's pushing its way southwards, initially across more central areas, but that will feed into southern parts through into the, well, lunchtime area and early afternoon. Otherwise, there will be more dry weather around tomorrow compared to some recent days. It's not totally dry. There will still be showers around northern, western, eastern coastal parts and some of the showers lingering in the far south, but many central areas staying dry, a decent amount of sunshine and slightly less cool than it has been recently. Temperatures maybe a degree or so higher than today, and the winds will be a little bit lighter as well, so that will make it feel less cool as well. More showers to come though through the evening on Friday. They'll be pepping up in a few places. Then into the weekend, whilst there will be plenty of fine weather around, there will also be a bit of rain at times and a slight warming trend into the beginning of next week.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A9 southbound approach to Inveralmond roundabout is partially blocked due to a broken down vehicle. Near junction 38 on the M6 southbound in Cumbria, there are 10-minute delays, with normal traffic expected between 4 and 4:15 this afternoon. Lane closures on Stoke-on-Trent's A500 northbound between junctions with the A5007 and A53 are causing half-hour delays after a collision. And on the trains, services between Westerfield and Lowestoft on Greater Anglia and the London Overground around Denmark Hill face disruptions. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Time is 3:41. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, the Labour Party has been sent into chaos this afternoon after Wes Streeting earlier on resigned as Health Secretary. But what do those in his constituency make of all of this psychodrama, another Starmer drama? Well, let's now speak with GB News' national reporter Will Godley, who joins us there from Ilford North. Will, welcome to the show. Of course, Ilford North, Wes Streeting won that seat by an absolute whisker at the last general election, almost losing to a pro-Gaza independent. What are voters telling you on the streets there today?
Well, Martin, good afternoon to you. Yeah, Ilford North here. It's been a day full of rain and then some sunshine. Now the clouds are a little bit grey, but whether that has any indication on how people are feeling here, I'm not sure we should read too much into it. But what people are calling this online is a resignation. No, I haven't got a lisp, but perfectly summing up Wes Streeting resigning as Health Secretary, although didn't trigger a leadership election, but did, of course, in his letter tell the Prime Minister he's lost confidence in his leadership, told the Prime Minister we need vision, but we have a vacuum. Where we have direction, we have drift. He also said to the Prime Minister it's now clear that you will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election, calling on him to set out the process to elect a new Labour leader. But Wes Streeting crucially said we want to have the best fields of candidates, so opening perhaps space for Andy Burnham to be able to stand, but slightly confusing perhaps, because Wes Streeting would perhaps stand better chance if it was sooner rather than later, although some people saying that if Andy Burnham is allowed to stand, well, Wes Streeting perhaps could use that to say it's more legitimate as a Labour leadership election. And if Andy Burnham doesn't stand now, well, perhaps could come to get Wes Streeting in the future. But all of that is just up for grabs at the moment. There is no leadership election. All that's happened is Wes Streeting has resigned. Perhaps he can now spend a lot more time focusing on his constituents. Here in Ilford North, this is how they reacted to his resignation a little bit earlier on.
It's probably a good idea to resign. You know, I think he will make a good Prime Minister. And to be honest, I don't think there's anybody doing a worse job than the current top man.
The country's lost support for Keir Starmer with the local elections.
Oh, he's a very good MP, to be honest. He has a chance. He could be a good leader if he makes it. I would support him.
People want change, and they are definitely tired of the current government. And like as you see, for the MPs, they are revolting against their own Prime Minister as well.
So only a resignation at the moment, no leadership battle yet. Perhaps that's because Wes Streeting doesn't yet have enough support. Of course, as you say, Martin, he only won here with a wafer-thin majority. He'll be hoping for more support if there's to be a leadership battle. A poll of Times readers puts Starmer the most popular out of any possible candidate. But of course, it won't be Times readers deciding on who would be the next Labour leader. It would be Labour members. A poll of them by the Labour list puts Starmer still ahead of Wes Streeting. Perhaps that's why he's not started the firing pistol just yet. But of course, all of that could be on the cards very, very shortly.
Thank you very much indeed there, Will. Superb from Ilford North, a seat very much on the brink. Thank you very much, Will. Let's get back to the studio, joined by Catherine Forster. That's it. That's the best line of the day. Resignation. Resignation. Tim Shipman, the political editor at The Spectator, saying if the Sun's front page tomorrow, if every tabloid newspaper in the land's headline isn't resignation, I'll be very, very disappointed. So I'm just going to pretend it was mine. Resignation. Absolutely magnificent. On a serious point, Catherine Forster, Ilford North is one of those seats which just sums up the Labour Party's perils. And we've got a graphic on the screen we can show that I've drummed up. And this is from Electoral Calculus. He very, very nearly lost his seat at the last general election by a whisker to a Gaza independent. And at present, the Gaza independents are predicted to take Ilford North. They can see they'll take 33% of the vote share. The Greens in second on 22%. Labour joint second on 22%. This is the problem that faces the Labour Party, Catherine Forster. It's a problem that faces Wes Streeting. And today we saw it by steaming into Nigel Farage, trying to paint himself now as a darling of the left. But do you know what I think about Wes Streeting today? He looks a bit silly. He went into Downing Street, he marched in there, he had his chin in the air, looking every inch like the next Prime Minister. Now, he hasn't got the numbers, nobody's backing up, he looks a bit of a Walley. What do you think?
I think a lot of people will agree with that because absolutely. I mean, his team were talking to me a couple of days ago, making it sound like it was all systems go if and when it became necessary and it became clear that the PM couldn't stay. And then today, they've become like submarines. They're not picking up the phone to me or to other broadcasters that I talk to. And I've been going, has he got the numbers? He hasn't got the numbers. No reply. Now, we don't know. We're being told that he does, but the evidence is not there because he's only done one of the two things we thought he was going to do. Yes, he's resigned, but he has not submitted that formal challenge to the NEC with those 81 MPs written in black and white.
Okay.
Is it because he doesn't have them?
Catherine, plenty more to discuss in the rest of the show. And they're saying in Westminster, Keir's not here. Where are you, Prime Minister? Come and give us a little comment. Plenty more to come here on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, are you heading away over the next couple of days? Well, there's some very unsettled weather across Central Europe with thunderstorms and large hail, and that is pushing further south. But for the Canary Islands, it's relatively dry, some brighter spells into parts of Spain as well as Italy. That unsettled weather is pushing down from Central Europe through the rest of this week. It does look like it will get a little bit drier into next week and over the weekend, however, and temperatures will finally lift up a bit as well. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
I've got a world exclusive for you. There's a very exciting new talent on the London stage. We've got a little exclusive clip for you here.
Baby sham.
OK, so we saw a scene in a bar with not much dialogue. What was that then?
That was me.
What?
That was me, Michael.
What was
that was me
then?
strolling onto stage. I think they've got some pictures of me in costume and everything. There you go.
Oh, now we have a picture.
Yeah,
of you,
so this
recognisably.
That was me. Very exciting new talent. So this is the Park Theatre up in North London, and again, this is more of my love of local theatres,
yes.
regional theatres, community theatres.
Yes.
I'd had a lovely chat with Jez Bond, who is the founder, director and writer of this show. They need $600,000 a year on top of box office takings just to break even. So every year they do this whodunit. And the idea is, apart from me, they have Ian McKellen doing the voiceover, they have Emma Thompson, Gillian Anderson, Julian Clary, Hugh Bonneville, Benedict Cumberbatch. All these people come in for one night, they turn up, they're literally put into they play the sheriff in this mad spoof whodunit. They get an earpiece, and then literally, so that's it, they open the fake saloon doors, come on stage, I walked to the bar and ordered a baby sham with my amazing Westerns accent. And then the rest of the play, you have the earpiece in. So I went and did about an hour, and I was the first person they had on the stage to see how it all works. And it was fascinating.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Keir Starmer now facing growing pressure to step down as Prime Minister following, of course, Wes Streeting's resignation earlier on the table. I'm joined now in the studio by the political editor, HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield. Kev was saying in the break, we expected today this dramatic drum roll and then action.
Yep.
That's just a farce.
It is another farce. We all expected Wes Streeting to announce his leadership campaign today and that he had the requisite numbers to challenge Keir Starmer. I'm led to believe that he doesn't have those numbers and that it's a very fluid situation. I was told by one person in his team that he did have the numbers at one point and now he doesn't. So I think Labour MPs are changing their minds or switching horses, who knows. But I think he's probably played a difficult hand pretty well today by resigning. He obviously couldn't remain in post given everything that's happened. That would have been ridiculous. But by also being magnanimous and saying we want it to be a campaign that allows all the talent in the party to be involved, which means Andy Burnham. But now it's on to Andy Burnham now to come up with a seat.
Yesterday, of course, we were told the safe seat, which isn't a safe seat, of Rusholme, Manchester Rusholme, Afzal Khan, the sitting parliamentarian, said, yeah, you can have my seat, Andy. Now he's changed his tune. There is no question of me resigning, he said today. I keep telling everyone that. I don't know where these rumours are coming from. So there goes a seat that wasn't safe anyway. Yet more farce.
Well, day after day we have Labour MPs in that area, in the northwest of England, saying, no, I'm not going to stand down for Andy Burnham. So who is this MP? Where is this seat? And even if there is a seat, one, would he become the candidate? Would the Labour NEC allow that to happen? And two, would he actually win it? So lots of doubt over Andy Burnham's candidacy. And then the question becomes, well, who would be the soft left candidate who would go up against Wes Streeting? Would it be Angela Rayner now that she doesn't have the tax issue hanging over her? Ed Miliband, is he, I know he is thinking about it, but whether he would actually go for it, I don't know. But I think it looks now, all eyes on Downing Street. What is Keir Starmer's reaction to Wes Streeting's resignation? We just don't know.
And a final plot to us just here, and this happened in the Gorsley and Denton by-election when Andy Burnham's name was touted then. Gary Neville is being touted as a potential replacement for the mayor of Manchester. I think Manchester City fans might have something to say about that, to be honest. Gary Neville fancies being the mayor of Manchester Betters. I'd love to be an astronaut. What an absolute ridiculous situation. We expected finality. Instead, we've just got this ongoing psychodrama. It's just an incredible set of affairs. Kevin Schofield, if you do get any clarity, you've got my number. Drop me a little text. Let's find out what the heck is going on in this country of ours. Catherine Forster, thank you very much. Plenty more in the next 2 hours. The ongoing Starmer drama on Downing Street. Would it be a nightmare on Downing Street? Well, once again, will Keir Starmer, Mr Teflon, simply hang on? We don't know the answer. Hopefully we'll tell you later in the show. This is GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we look ahead, we are going to see some of the showers easing, the winds becoming a bit lighter and feeling a little less cool, but we do still have low pressure over Scandinavia. We do still have a northerly flow across the country, so temperatures are staying a little bit below average for the time of year. And there are still plenty of showers around for a little while yet. Some heavy ones could see rainfall totals building up to 10-20 millimetres in some places if you get a fair few of those showers, but actually overnight most places turning largely dry. Showers though continuing for some northern, eastern and western coastal parts. Where we get some dry, clearer weather and you're sheltered from that brisk breeze from the north, while temperatures could drop mid to low single figures, maybe even a touch of frost in some prone spots first thing tomorrow morning. Through tomorrow then, across parts of Scotland we continue with showers coming in from the north, so northern parts of Scotland seeing plenty of showers, drier further south, kind of south of the central belt, likely to be mostly fine through the start of the day. A similar picture across Northern Ireland, so showers in the far north, dry further south. But for England and Wales, there's actually a swathe of showery rain that's pushing its way southwards, initially across more central areas, but that will feed into southern parts through into the, well, lunchtime area and early afternoon. Otherwise, there will be more dry weather around tomorrow compared to some recent days. It's not totally dry. There will still be showers around northern, western, eastern coastal parts, and some of the showers lingering in the far south, but many central areas staying dry, a decent amount of sunshine and slightly less cool than it has been recently. Temperatures maybe a degree or so higher than today, and the winds will be a little bit lighter as well, so that will make it feel less cool as well. More showers to come though through the evening on Friday. They'll be pepping up in a few places. Then into the weekend, whilst there will be plenty of fine weather around, there will also be a bit of rain at times and a slight warming trend into the beginning of next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. A broken-down vehicle partially blocks the A9 southbound approach to Inveralmond roundabout. An accident on the A500 northbound in Stoke-on-Trent, between junctions with the A5007 and the A53, has caused lane closures. Traffic should return to normal between 4:30 and 4:45 this afternoon. The M2 eastbound entry slip at Junction 3 in Kent remains closed due to a police incident, with normal conditions expected between 6:15 and 6:30 this evening. And on the trains, there is disruption affecting both London Overground and South Eastern services in the Denmark Hill area. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
A very, very good afternoon to you here from the heart of Westminster. It's 4 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you all the way through until 6 p.m. It's a nightmare on Downing Street again. And here's what's coming up on today's show. Today, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, dramatically resigned from the government in what's now been described as his resignation. Love it. He steamed into Keir Starmer, blasting, "You will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election." He then criticised him for sacking staff rather than taking responsibility for his own mistakes. So here's the question. Has Wes Streeting fired the starting pistol on the Labour Party leadership race, or is he firing blanks? And could others, such as Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband or Andy Burnham, launch their own plots to oust Keir Starmer from the office, or will he cling onto power for a tortuous while longer? Once again, it's a non-stop Starmer drama in Westminster. The storm clouds there, as you can see, gathering for a government very much on the rocks, and for the next 2 hours, GB News will give you a ringside seat, live from the Bear Pit, live from the heart of Westminster. Do not go anywhere. Anything could happen. Welcome to the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have your company. Where's Keir? Where's Wes? It's all gone a bit quiet, hasn't it, Catherine Forster? The Prime Minister's simply gone into the tumbleweed. You know that Simpsons meme where he kind of goes backwards into the hedge? That's what's happened to this government. Where are they? We were expecting today Wes Streeting to actually announce a leadership challenge. He'd get the numbers, bang, game on. Instead, it's kind of fizzled out like one of those disappointing fireworks in a children's box that leaves everyone a bit disappointed, underwhelmed and sobbing gently into their mulled wine. Come on, let's get this going again. Where are the rest of the cabinet ministers who are going to back up Wes Streeting? Where are the parliamentarians demanding for the Prime Minister's political head? We weren't promised this. It's all gone a bit flat. Let's be having you. Let's get this story revved up. Let's get this government going again. Andy Burnham, where are you? Gary Neville wants to be the Mayor of Manchester. I'd like to be an astronaut. That won't happen either. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say is ways to do so, or scan the QR code on your screens now. But that's time for your headlines. Oh, he's got a voice like a velvet cushion. It's Lewis Mackenzie.
Thank you very much, Martin. Here are your top stories at 4 o'clock. As you've just been hearing, Wes Streeting has quit as Health Secretary, paving the way for a potential leadership challenge against the Prime Minister. Mr Streeting is widely thought to be planning to challenge Sir Keir Starmer for the Labour leadership. In his resignation letter to Sir Keir Starmer, Wes Streeting says, "It is now clear that you will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election," adding, where we need vision, we have a vacuum. The PM is battling to save his job after 4 ministers quit, and dozens of Labour MPs urged him to resign after last week's heavy election losses. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipsson has told reporters Wes Streeting's resignation from government is an opportunity for Labour to draw a line under all of this.
Look, I can't speak for Wes. I think it's a real shame that he's made that decision, because I like and respect Wes. We've worked closely for many, many years. He was a brilliant cabinet colleague. I think he's done a great job as Health Secretary. I'm just sad. I'm sad he's come to that decision. I'd hoped not to be having this conversation, because I think Wes has got a huge amount to offer, and it's a shame that he's taken the decision to step away from cabinet. But that's his decision.
Shortly after Streeting resigned, leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, released this statement saying no one is running the country.
I told Wes Streeting to do his job. Instead, he's done a hit job on the Prime Minister. The Labour Party has now descended into civil war. And here's the thing. While they're sharpening their knives and plotting in the bars of Westminster, nobody is running the country.
Now, Angela Rayner, also seen as a potential challenger to the PM, says she has been cleared by HMRC of wrongdoing over her tax affairs. The former Deputy Prime Minister says she's settled the £40,000 unpaid bill for a flat near Brighton. She stood down as Deputy PM in September of last year after admitting she underpaid stamp duty on her £800,000 flat in Hove. At the time, the Prime Minister's ethics advisor said Rayner acted with integrity but had breached the ministerial code. The UK economy grew by 0.6% between January and March, according to the Office for National Statistics. This was higher than the 0.5% growth that most economists had been expecting, and marks the highest since the first quarter of 2025. The ONS also said GDP increased by 0.3% in March, surprising economists who had been expecting growth to slow down during the onset of the war in the Middle East. Some breaking news for you now. A man who abused his position as an imam in the local community by pretending to have spiritual powers to coerce and sexually abuse women and girls as young as 12 over more than a decade has been jailed. Abdul Halim Khan from East London has been sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 20 years after being convicted of 21 offences, including rape, sexual assault and child sexual offences against 7 women and girls between 2007 and 2015. Specialist prosecutor at the CPS, Melissa Garner, said he used their deeply held beliefs to instill fear and silence them, making them believe that their families would be at risk if they ever spoke out. I hope this prosecution sends a clear message that the CPS will work tirelessly to protect women and girls and bring anyone who commits these appalling crimes to justice. Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for China and the US to be partners, not rivals, ahead of high-stakes talks with his US counterpart that lasted nearly 2 hours in Beijing. In response, President Trump described Xi as a great leader and says the relationship between the superpowers will be better than before.
The relationship between the American and Chinese people goes all the way back to America's founding. The first American consul to China, Samuel Shaw, arrived on the first American trading ship to reach these shores in 1784. The Chinese merchants had a name for the Americans. They called their visions the New People. 2.5 centuries later, that first connection has grown into one of the most consequential relationships in world history.
And finally, the King has visited Golders Green and met the Jewish victims of the stabbing in the neighbourhood in a show of support for the community. King Charles visited a Jewish care charity centre on Monday to meet with victims, along with Chief Rabbi Sir Ephraim Mervis and Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley. The Chief Rabbi told the King they appreciate it enormously that he had made the visit. Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. Finance next.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.34 and 1.15 euros. The price of gold is at £3,474 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 10,342 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Thank you, Lewis. The Starmer drama goes from bad to fast because Wes Streeting has resigned as Health Secretary, and they're calling it magnificently his resignation. In a significant and major blow for the Prime Minister, Mr Streeting said in his scathing resignation letter that it was clear that Keir Starmer will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election, and then added, "Where we need vision, we have a vacuum." Live pictures there of the door of Downing Street, and big questions are now mounting over whether the former Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, could launch a leadership bid, and if others, including the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, the former Deputy PM, cleared of her tax shenanigans this morning. By coincidence, Angela Rayner and also the Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham, could throw their hats into the ring. Now, this past hour, the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipsson, she told the media that she fundamentally disagreed with the position that Wes Streeting has taken, and that the Prime Minister, she said at least 6 times, has her full support. Let's now speak with GB News' Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood, live there from Downing Street. Tom, resignation is the word of the day, and what a corking word it is. But here's my question to you. Where's Keir Starmer? Where's Wes? It's gone strangely silent.
has gone very, very quiet, Martin, and also we haven't heard from Andy Burnham. We haven't heard from Ed Miliband. We haven't heard from Angela Rayner. So it's not just Wes Streeting and the Prime Minister that have gone to ground. Frankly, we're struggling to get many statements out of many of the principal characters in this drama at all. On a side note, if a tabloid newspaper tomorrow morning does not run with the headline Resignation, I think we'll have fallen so far as a country. Surely one of these papers can carry that and make all of our morning tomorrow morning. But on a serious note, this is, of course, a very, very difficult time for this government. It does look like an almost certainty now that Keir Starmer does not carry the Labour Party into the next election, that he does not lead the Labour Party into 2029. And yet there is an open question now in terms of what the path to that point looks like. Is there a quick leadership contest? Is there a slow one? Is there no leadership contest at all until after the summer? Is there a fast by-election in which Andy Burnham stands and returns to Westminster? Or what else happens? Could there be more cabinet resignations, more ministerial resignations? It does look like things are simmering just below the surface as we speak. And yes, so many of the people that we expect to hear from this afternoon, perhaps going into this evening, are keeping their powder dry as of yet. We have not heard from many of the principal characters in this drama, and that leads to the question, what are they up to? Are they writing their own resignation statements? Are they writing their own leadership pitches? Well, frankly, we only have to wait to find out.
Thank you very, very much indeed there, Tom Harwood on Downing Street. Let's see if anybody pops their head out the door. The next thing you know, we'll be interviewing Larry the Cat. Thank you very much, Tom. Always an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Now, let's now speak with a member of the House of Lords and the former Labour Party MP. And of course, great friend of the show, Lord Walley. Lord Walley, it's always a delight to have your company. What a day, what a farce, what a Starmer drama. It just never, ever seems to stop. Can I draw you to a couple of points from the Resignation letter? What a great new word that's been minted today, the Resignation. The first one is this. Wes Streeting said, where we need vision, we have a vacuum. And Lord Walley, we all know what fills a vacuum: chaos. It's the first law of physics. This government is an abject and utter chaos, the kind of chaos they promised us would end when the Tories left government.
Yeah, I thought that Wes articulated quite well the essential problem with Keir Starmer's leadership, and I have thought for some time that there is simply could be no way back for Keir Starmer. He may be a decent man. He may want to do the right thing, but for the country, but he doesn't have a vision of the kind of country that he wants to lead. He doesn't really have an effective theory of change to be able to drive the system to improve things. And bluntly, when he speaks, most of the public just want to switch off the TV. He is deeply, historically unpopular, and he does not have the communication or the political skill to be able to turn that around. So yes, these chaotic scenes are unedifying, but I really hope that my colleagues will actually keep their eye on the fundamentals, which is for all of the difficulties around who the successor would be, how it looks to change prime ministers, the short-term turbulence. They have no chance of being able to persuade the public that to stick with Labour if Keir remains the leader at the next general election.
Who do you think is going to fill the shoes? I mean, we're expecting today Wes Streeting to say, right, I've got the numbers, that's it. Game on, leadership challenge, let's have it, toe-to-toe. Instead, it seems like it's fizzled out. It seems like it's just fizzled out altogether. Andy Burnham, we were told, would be a shoo-in in Manchester Rusholme. Afzal Khan, the parliamentarian there, would happily surrender his seat. He's changed his mind today, saying there is no question of me resigning. I keep telling everyone that. Where do these rumours keep coming from? So everything has gone from this precision takeover to a complete clown show today.
Yeah, I mean, it is I feel for the Manchester MPs whose names keep being dropped into the papers by presumably supporters or parts of Andy Burnham's team, and no matter, there's all sorts of conversations that people can have in the lead up to things, perhaps in months past that are private. But to have the idea that you might be prepared to walk away from representing your 70,000 constituents is hugely damaging if that's not true. So I think it is for all the criticism that is being levelled at him, Wes has quit the job that he loved. And that he was doing well. He has made a big decision. And it's incumbent on Andy now, I think, actually to level with Labour Party members and, most importantly, with the public about what he wants to do.
Lord Walley, I want to direct your attention to another part of the resignation letter, if I could, and it was a blistering attack on Nigel Farage and Reform UK. And I wanted to ask you, especially in your former role as the government's counter-extremism advisor, do you think it's at all helpful when Wes Streeting today has stoked the flames by calling Nigel Farage, his brand of politics, a dangerous English nationalism represented by Nigel Farage and Reform UK, and said it's our responsibility to defeat racism? Lord Walley, has Wes Streeting once again fallen into that fatal trap of calling anybody who disagrees with him racist?
Yeah, I think I think anyone, any major Labour figure now has got to be really careful about this, because the Reform have been leading in the polls for over a year. It is not wise, and I think it's not true, actually, to brand the majority of those people who are currently expressing a preference for Reform as far right or as racist. I think there are real alarming question marks over Reform and over Mr. Farage himself, and I think that the exam question, the big question at the next general election, is going to be, are Reform fit to lead the country, and are the alternatives, be that any of the other parties, able to get themselves together sufficiently to mount a proper challenge? And I think it's vital that they do that. But I think there is a danger at the moment that these kind of letters, that such as Wes has written today, these messages are primarily designed for a Labour Party audience. And the Labour Party, I've been a member for decades, they love nothing more than branding their opponents as morally bad. And sort of getting themselves fired up on that, but it's really important that they don't go so far that actually they damage their own prospects of being able to win people back to the fold once all of this craziness in the Labour Party settles down.
Well, if last Thursday was anything to go by, it may already be too late. But thanks for joining us, House of Lords member and the former Labour Party MP, Lord Walley. Thank you for your time. Back to studio, Catherine Fawcett, our chief political correspondent, joins me fresh from Downing Street. Can we talk about this?
I wouldn't say fresh, but thank you.
Well, yeah, a bit fresh as in fresh and cold. Well, can we talk about this racism thing? Because we've talked a lot now about Wes Streeting and the successors. Andy Burnham seems to be just in their own little orbit. But I just think the Labour Party seems to perpetually make this same fatal blunder. We saw it in the aftermath of the Southport riots when the Prime Minister took to the lectern. I was in the studio here with Chris Hope when he said, "This is the far right." My jaw just dropped. I went, I can't believe he's done that. And they're still doing it today. Wes Streeting just saying dangerous English nationalism. They would never say that Welsh nationalism or Scottish nationalism or Irish nationalism was English. It's uniquely something, was dangerous, beg your pardon. It's something they uniquely seem to level up the English. It's divisive, and it's blowing up in their faces at the polling booths. Why do they do it?
Yeah, I don't understand, to be honest. I think it's massively counterproductive. Of course, the Prime Minister, when there were all the calls for a grooming gang inquiry, which they ultimately relented and agreed to, remember when the Prime Minister said about, not going to jump on a far right bandwagon. And this letter from Wes Streeting these phrases, you know, an existential threat to the values and ideals that have made this country great, you know, and then goes on to say we've got a historic responsibility to defeat racism. And I was at the Prime Minister's supposed reset speech on Monday. Given that they've just lost the Red Wall, they've lost Wales, they've lost their heartlands largely to reform, I was sort of couldn't believe that we're standing in central London and the Prime Minister's answer to that was more Europe. And on the one hand, they're saying we understand that people feel that we don't care and they feel left behind. But he was also talking about sort of dangerous, dark forces of Nigel Farage. I just don't understand how that is helpful, because a lot of the people that are now voting for reform were Labour voters through and through for generations in many cases in places like Wales, and they feel that the Labour Party has abandoned them, and this sort of language I think is just going to drive those sorts of people even further away.
And we can quickly get that graphic that I made of the 93 MPs that are asking for Keir Starmer to stand down, because I looked into how those MPs are going to be replaced, and it's incredible. And they really should, I think, have a deep rethink about brandishing around terms like racist, far-right, divisive, dark and dangerous. Look at this list, Catherine. 93 MPs there who want the Prime Minister to stand down. 56 of them, that's 60%, are destined, if a general election were held today, to lose their seats to Reform UK. That's the vast majority. 20 of them, that's at 21%, would lose their seats to the Green Party. So by playing this narrative of we need to swing to the left and get rid of the far right, they're throwing a load of their own MPs under the political bus. And astonishingly, only 4 of those 93 MPs would hold their seat if a general election were held today. Just 4%. This is the party that's been fractured to the left, fractured to the right, left, right and centre, they're losing seats if this was to go ahead of general election. And yet their answer always seems to be to swing to the left and call everyone racist. It doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't. And I was talking to a Red Wall MP yesterday who was absolutely saying we have got to get rid of the Prime Minister, but very concerned about what followed. And I was talking to a minister who was also horrified. And what tends to happen is that the Labour Party goes to its comfort zone, moves to the left. That is not what people voted for. People voted for a sort of fairly moderate, we thought, version of Labour that wasn't scary, that wasn't going to put our taxes up much, that was going to deliver growth. And, you know, if they put in Ed Miliband or Angela Rayner or maybe Andy Burnham, though he is popular and people like him and let's see how he would do, but the chances are there will be a drift to the left. And for all that the Greens are, you know, eating their vote on one side and Reform on the other, looking at those numbers, Reform is still the greater threat, because you've got heavy concentration of Green votes in certain areas, but you've got Reform votes spread very, very widely indeed.
And by the way, Angela Rayner would lose her seat to Reform if there were a general election today. West Streeting would lose his seat to a Gaza Independent. This is the problem they've got. They're being damned from the left and they're being damned from the right. Thank you very much, Catherine Forster. Still to come, we're discussing that resignation as others, including Angela Rayner and Ed Miliband, could launch leadership bids to oust the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. Storm clouds gathering over Westminster. And here's the question: where's Keir? This is GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back. Time is 4:27. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, Wes Streeting has resigned his resignation letter as Health Secretary in a significant and major blow for the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Mr Streeting said in that scathing resignation letter that it was clear Keir Starmer will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election. But could this trigger a leadership contest? And who else might join in? Could it be one of the candidates is the Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband? What could that mean for the country? Well, I'm joined in the studio by the leader of the Climate Party, Ed Gamble. Ed, always a pleasure to have your company.
Pleased to be here.
What's your take, first of all, on the non-stop Starmer drama around this government? They promised us this chaos would end.
I know. I mean, Starmer's obviously been a disappointment from the moment he got into office. The poor man is unable to make presentations. He's unable to come across as affable and believable by the public, and that's the biggest problem for him, I think. But also, he doesn't have control on his party. And now, if I was inside the Labour Party, and I'm not, but let's say I was inside the Labour Party, I'd be speaking to Anna Turley, the chair, I'd be speaking to the General Secretary and saying, look, let's get everybody in. Let's have a talk about what we do. Somebody's got to convince Keir that he's on his way out, but a dignified exit at some point in the future, properly planned. We've got a clearly good candidate at the moment from the public's point of view, who is Andy Burnham. And I don't know if you already talked about it, but you'll have seen possibly the poll that came out from Compass for 2,000 people that really puts Andy Burnham streaks ahead of the others within Labour, and not just with those inside Labour. I mean, it shows that within their voting system that he would very quickly win the leadership competition if he was within it. But even for those outside, he streaks ahead in terms of the effect he would have on the intention of people in Conservatives, Reform, Liberal Democrats and the Greens to actually consider voting for Labour. I mean, as in 4 times better than Wes Streeting. So I would be saying, calm, bring it back in, come on, Keir, get real, it's over. But we'd like you to go out in the best way, and let's plan how we can bring in Andy Burnham. Or, just one other thing I'd like to throw in, or give us a chance to look at some others. And as somebody who's not been talked about at all, I mean, I quite like Clive Lewis. You know, very good presenter, comes across very warmly, people like him when he's presenting, ex-army man, political journalist, and in shadow cabinet has been across a lot of the roles, has a lot to offer. He seems to have not been the picture at the moment. I hope he throws his hat in the ring.
Well, he might lose his seat to the Green Party, that's a problem, and that's a problem that faces a lot of this government. Sure. Let's talk about Ed Miliband. We're waiting for him to throw his hat in the ring, but he is on the ticket. He's very well liked by the membership, but not, sadly, by the electorate. One of his policies that came out this morning I thought I'd throw your way, Ed Gamble. He wants to ban North Sea oil, not just licences now, but forever. He wants to concrete over the fracking sites. He wants to stop future governments, never mind this one, from being able to use British fossil fuel resources. That is madness.
Oh, goodness, about time. I mean, you know, he's got to get going on it. We've got to get the clean industrial revolution going in the UK, grip it, lead it, and if we do it properly, we can be putting 20 billion a week onto our economy. And this is just part of it. We are literally like addicts, heroin addicts, and we keep throwing ourselves back onto this thing. And the best thing to do, shut it off, find better ways to live. You know, start running, get your high in a different way. It won't go out.
We'll be living in caves.
And what we would have to do, but there is, I know over the last 2 decades, there has been a lack of policy in the way we do it. We have ignored tidal power, although I'm pleased to see that even Reform are now talking about tidal power and doubling down on it. We haven't invested enough in fusion. We have geothermals just starting, something we can be bringing in. And all of these together will create a holistic system in which we will be having much cheaper bills, including for industry, costs going down, and the opportunity to drive exports in a big way of all the technologies we've developed here.
Well, I'll tell you, Gamer, what they should do is strap a windmill to Big Ben there. All the hot air coming out of Parliament, they would spin that windmill around enough to keep Westminster ticking over with the lights, and that's for sure. Ed Gamer, always a pleasure to have you company, leader of the Climate Party. Thank you for coming and see us today in Westminster. Always a pleasure. And, of course, Catherine Forster, plenty more of you throughout the show. Although I can sense you want to go and have a little bit of a rest now. You've been up since 4 o'clock. You're a trooper. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, still to come, more reaction to that resignation letter from the government. Will be live in his constituency of Ilford North. What do they make of the chaos there in a seat that he barely clung onto by a few hundred votes? You almost lost to a Gaza independence. But first, here's your latest news headlines with Lewis Mackenzie.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB newsroom. As you've just been hearing, Wes Streeting has quit as Health Secretary, paving the way for a potential leadership challenge against the Prime Minister. Mr Streeting is widely thought to be planning to challenge Sir Keir Starmer for the Labour leadership. In his resignation letter, the former Health Secretary, said it is now clear that you will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election. Angela Rayner, seen as a potential challenger to the Prime Minister, says she has been cleared by HMRC of wrongdoing over her tax affairs. In an interview published today, Ms Rayner told the paper she's been bruised by the experience. She stood down as Deputy Prime Minister in September last year after admitting she underpaid stamp duty on her £800,000 flat in Hove. The UK economy grew by 0.6% between January and March, according to the Office for National Statistics. Gross domestic product increased by 0.6% between January and March, the ONS have said. And finally, President Xi Jinping has called for China and the US to be partners, not rivals, ahead of high-stakes talks with his US counterpart that lasted nearly 2 hours in Beijing. In response, President Trump described Xi as a great leader and says the relationship between the superpowers will be better than ever before. Well, those are your latest headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we look ahead, we are going to see some of the showers easing, the winds becoming a bit lighter and feeling a little less cool, but we do still have low pressure over Scandinavia. We do still have a northerly flow across the country, so temperatures are staying a little bit below average for the time of year. And there are still plenty of showers around for a little while yet. Some heavy ones could see rainfall totals building up to 10-20 millimetres in some places if you get a fair fair few of those showers, but actually overnight, most places turning largely dry. Showers, though, continuing for some northern, eastern and western coastal parts. Where we get some dry, clearer weather and you're sheltered from that brisk breeze from the north, while temperatures could drop mid to low single figures, maybe even a touch of frost in some prone spots first thing tomorrow morning. Through tomorrow then, across some parts of Scotland, we continue with showers coming in from the north. So northern parts of Scotland seeing plenty of showers, drier further south, kind of south of the central belt, likely to be mostly fine through the start of the day. A similar picture across Northern Ireland, so showers in the far north, dry further south. But for England and Wales, there's actually a swathe of showery rain that's pushing its way southwards, initially across more central areas, but that will feed into southern parts through into the, well, lunchtime area and early afternoon. Otherwise, there will be more dry weather around tomorrow compared to some recent days. It's not totally dry. There will still be showers around northern, western, eastern coastal parts and some of the showers lingering in the far south, but many central areas staying dry, a decent amount of sunshine and slightly less cool than it has been recently. Temperatures maybe a degree or so higher than today, and the winds will be a little bit lighter as well, so that will make it feel less cool as well. More showers to come though through the evening on Friday. They'll be pepping up in a few places. Then into the weekend, whilst there will be plenty of fine weather around, there will also be a bit of rain at times and a slight warming trend into the beginning of next week.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. On the A9 southbound, the approach to Inveralmond roundabout is partially blocked due to a broken down vehicle causing delays. In Hampshire, congestion is building on the A34 southbound between the A272 and the junction with the M3, with delays of around 20 minutes. On the M1 southbound, the exit slip at Walley Edge Services has one of two lanes closed for road management, though normal traffic flow is expected by 6:15 this evening. And on the trains, cross-country services are disrupted between Basingstoke and Andover. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. 4:37 live shots out of the back of someone's head at Downing Street. But trust me, that is Downing Street, that famous building. We're trying to get MPs walking in and out. Will they come and see the Prime Minister? We were told cabinet ministers will be beating a path, demanding the Prime Minister steps down. Instead, an eerie silence hangs over Downing Street. Keir Starmer, where's Keir? Where's Wes? Where's anyone? Where's Angela Rayner? Where's Ed Miliband? Where are the hecking lot of them? We need to know what's going on, because at the moment we have this vacuum, as the resignation letter said, a vacuum. And we all know what fills a vacuum. It's one of the first laws of Newton's physics. Chaos. That's what we've got. Once again, chaos. Another Starmer drama on Downing Street. Now, the Labour Party and Downing Street has been sent into spiralling chaos all this afternoon, after that resignation letter from the Health Secretary representing a significant blow to the Prime Minister's authority. But here's the question. What do those in his constituency make of the decision? Well, our man is there. GB News national reporter Will Godley now joins us from West Streeting's seat in Ilford North. Will, a seat that the Health Minister hung on to by his fingernails. He very, very almost lost to a Gaza independent. What are locals telling you there today, Will?
Well, Martin, good afternoon. The sun's finally come out for us in Ilford North. This is somewhere where Wes Streeting has been MP of since 2015. But it was that 2024 election, as you say, Martin, where nationally Labour won a landslide victory, a huge win for the party, but not so for Wes Streeting. A wafer-thin majority he managed to get, just 528 seats in the last general election. And one person I've spoken to today even told me that they wonder whether Wes Streeting would even manage to cling on to the seat in any upcoming general election. So perhaps this resignation today and talk of leadership contests is a last chance saloon for the former Health Secretary. But we do know he did say in his resignation letter that one of the reasons why he resigned, well, he said he's lost confidence in Sir Keir Starmer's leadership. He also said where we need vision, we have a vacuum. Where we need direction, we have a drift. He also said that it's clear Sir Keir Starmer will not lead Labour into the next general election, called on him to outline the process for appointing a new Labour leader. Well, we're not there yet. I'm sure Wes Streeting hopes he can be someone on the ballot when eventually we do get there. But for now, does it give Wes Streeting more time to prioritise his constituents here in Ilford North, or perhaps more time to plot a leadership election bid? Well, what do his constituents here in Ilford North think about his resignation? I asked them earlier on.
It's probably a good idea to resign. You know, I think he will make a good Prime Minister. And to be honest, I don't think there's anybody doing a worse job than the current top man.
The country's lost support for Keir Starmer with the local elections.
Oh, he's a very good MP, to be honest. He has a chance. He could be a good leader if he makes it. I'd support him.
People want change, and they are definitely tired of the current government. And like as you see, for the MPs, they are revolting against their own Prime Minister as well.
He's not confident.
So, their MP resigning as Health Secretary, but not, crucially, launching a leadership bid. Why didn't he? Well, perhaps he didn't get enough votes. One Starmer ally this afternoon talking to reporters saying by their count, Wes Streeting only had 44 MPs backing him to be the next leader. Of course, 81 is the magic number, the amount of support he would need in order to become, to trigger a leadership election. And this Starmer ally said Wes Streeting has failed the most basic rule of politics by failing to count. And both the Times and Labour list, by their polling, put Sir Keir Starmer more popular than Wes Streeting. That didn't stop him, though, resigning. What it does mean for Sir Keir Starmer is he does need to find a new Health Secretary, Martin. Someone he could choose is someone who today has been exonerated by the HMRC, Angela Rayner. Will that help unite the Labour Party, bring her back to the front bench and making her the Health Secretary?
Yeah, Will Godley, what a thought that is. Thank you very much for joining us there from Ilford North. 50.4% Asian British that seat. It's a three-way split. Gaza Independent, Green and Labour in a distant third place. Wes Streeting probably wouldn't even hold that seat if there were a general election now, and that's the problem that the Labour Party has. Let's now speak with the former Labour Minister, Bill Rammell. Bill, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. What do you make of this resignation today? We expected drama. We expected Wes Streeting to have the numbers. Instead, we have this strange, eerie silence and nobody can be found.
Well, firstly, look, I regret where we are. I think Keir Starmer is a decent public servant, and I think particularly on the international stage, he's been an effective Prime Minister. But we've reached a tipping point. I think Keir doesn't impose his written authority on the government, and that has implications for policy making and communications. He's a wooden communicator. But MPs and ministers saying that there needs to be a change. It's not sustainable to go on like this. In respect of Wes, I think Wes has shown real bravery and courage by doing what he's done today. He's, I think, determined to force a contest in the interests of the country and the party, whether it's him who wins or somebody else. And he's called for the widest range of candidates, and I think that's a good move. Has he got enough MPs on his own to tip this over the line into forcing the leadership challenge? We'll see over the next 48 to 72 hours. Or is it an attempt to push others to come in to the field? Whatever it is, personally, I would support Wes. I think he's a real reformer. He's showing results in the National Health Service. He is head and shoulders above anybody else in this government in terms of communication abilities. And he's also, contrary to your coverage, he's a winner. Look, you can look at the last general election, look at the results in Redbridge. Yeah, but look at the results in Redbridge, the local elections last week, which covers his constituency. They were the best results for Labour, certainly in London, beating off both independents and Reform, if not the country. But whatever happens, I think this needs to be resolved with a timetable to elect.
Okay, Bill, I want to pick out. Bill, I want to pick out something out from this resignation letter today. You say that Wes Streeting is a great communicator. I put it to you, he's made one of the fatal and ridiculous errors of the political left of modern times, and that is he's basically calling everybody who doesn't agree with him as racist today. He's singled on Nigel Farage as well, calling that a dangerous English nationalism represented by Nigel Farage and Reform UK, saying it's his responsibility to defeat racism. Bill Rammell, when you look at the amount of councillors that were annihilated last week by the Reform Party in the Red Wall, ceasing to exist in areas that Labour has held forever, when will the Labour Party stop making the same ridiculous mistake of calling people who don't agree with them as racist?
I think the point Wes is making is that we need to challenge Reform. We need to challenge Farage. But
at the polling booth, you're failing.
Hold on, Martin. Look at the local election results last week, and yes, they were very bad for the Labour Party. They were actually bad across the board. Reform, in terms of national percentage share, was 5% down last week on the same stage the previous year. The Tories lost hundreds of seats in mid-term for the principal party of opposition. What we're facing is a fracturing of our political system, and what we need in those circumstances is a leader, a Prime Minister,
Wes Streeting is pandering to the membership of the Labour Party, is pandering to the left. Nobody voted for a left-wing Labour government, and that's what's happening here. This is pandering to the membership, it's pandering to the wokerati, and it's slandering people who vote Reform as racist. It has to stop.
I think any potential candidate needs to appeal to the selectorate, which is Labour Party members. But look at Wes's track record. He's not an ultra-leftist. He's a genuine reformer. He can reach out across the party. And you know, he would be my preferred candidate. But I want to see a range of candidates.
Okay, Bill, I've been told we have to move on. I'd love to keep this going, but we've run out of time. It's always a pleasure to get your company. Thank you very much. Now, stick with us. We'll have much more on that resignation as the Starmer drama continues in Downing Street. Storm clouds gathering for the government.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, are you heading away over the next couple of days? Well, there's some very unsettled weather across Central Europe with thunderstorms and large hail, and that is pushing further south. But for the Canary Islands, it's relatively dry, some brighter spells into parts of Spain as well as Italy. That unsettled weather is pushing down from Central Europe through the rest of this week. It does look like it will get a little bit drier into next week and over the weekend, however, temperatures will finally lift up a bit as well. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow. We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Unbelievable thing you've done. How are you?
I'm absolutely exhausted.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you got in here today, frankly. But you know what I really love, and this is the thing that inspires everybody, because everybody gets inspired when they see the marathon on TV. I was driving along on Sunday, and honestly, I counted 30 runners out on the streets, which you would never normally see. Now, you have never been a constant runner, someone that's always been out there on the street, because you went from nothing to do this. Is that right?
I was not even a sports fan, so unlike you, big Spurs fan, I know, but
Yeah.
I was unfit, not into sports at all. I turned 40 2 years ago. It's my birthday next week. And
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I decided to do this charity challenge. So actually, it will be my 2-year running anniversary in May.
Wow. Right, now I don't even get how you suddenly go, you know what, I'm going to be this, let's run across India, let's do 100 marathons, because do you start with literally like the old counts to 5K and then we move on and then move on and move on?
Yeah, definitely started with 5K runs, and obviously that massively grew. Totally. But yeah, the run across India was basically from the Pakistan border, and then I ran east and then kind of down to the centre and then to the east to the Bengal border, which was 100 marathon distance in 100 days. And it was along something called the Old Inland Customs Line.
Was this... I was talking to Simon Calder just now, because we had Simon Calder in here, wasn't he, talking about holidays?
Travel correspondent.
And I was saying, I'm going off slightly on one, but he was saying, well, you know, because I'm going to fly to India before I go on a holiday somewhere else, and then he said, well, you need to get a visa. Is it easy just to go to India and just say, I'm going to run across your country now?
It's not. My father was actually born in India and born in Calcutta, which is why
is this the reason you chose India?
It's one of the reasons I chose India.
Right. GB News, the People's Channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in, the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages. Because the news is going to happen. So get a head start today. Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition. Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, 10 to 5 now. Andy Burnham's route back to power could involve the Labour Party MP for Manchester Rusholme, Afzal Khan, reportedly standing down to allow the Manchester Mayor to return. Let's speak now with the social policy analyst, Dr. Rakib Hassan. Rakib Hassan, you write excellently on the emergence of sectarian politics. It's the 15th most Muslim seat in the UK, Rusholme. If there's a by-election there, it could be Gorton and Denton on steroids.
No, absolutely, Martin. Now, we have to make the point that the current MP representing Manchester Rusholme, Afzal Khan, he's essentially dismissed rumours that he could be standing aside, essentially triggering a by-election where Andy Burnham could be the Labour candidate. But I think that what this really shows here is that, in a way, there's no safe seat for the Labour Party. I think that the Gorton and Denton by-election, where there's no doubt, the Muslim voters there in Gorton and Denton, in that by-election, they flexed their political muscle. Traditionally, they voted for the Labour Party. The Labour Party hadn't lost an election in that area since 1931, and they swung their support behind the Green Party, which was a move which was ultimately proposed by the Muslim Vote campaign. But they also support the Green Party because they wanted to block Reform UK from winning that seat. Now, Policy Exchange recently published a report called Understanding Islamopopulism, and they polled British Muslim respondents across a variety of areas, including Greater Manchester. And it showed that among the British Muslim respondents polled, nearly half would consider voting for a Green Party candidate in order to prevent a Labour one from winning. So there's some very interesting dynamics at play here.
And actually, in that seat at present, on electoral calculus, is down as 97% chance of swinging to the Green Party. And that's the point. Mobilising the Muslim vote is the biggest single block of voters in Rusholme. Sectarian politics isn't going away.
No, it's absolutely not. And I'm talking about this emergent Islamopopulism. It isn't going to go away. In fact, I believe that it's going to grow from strength to strength. And I feel that the interesting thing here is, if you just took Manchester Rusholme, just say if there was a by-election there, in the last general election back in July 2024, the Workers' Party of Britain, which is led by George Galloway, won over 3,000 votes there. So if you have these kind of electoral pacts between the Green Party and the Workers' Party of Britain, or pro-Gaza independent candidates, if they strike those electoral pacts or strike political agreements, ultimately in order to inflict maximum damage on the Labour Party, then you can see that Islamopopulism accelerating over time.
Dr. Ragib-Hassan, we have to leave it there. Always enjoy your company. Thank you very much. Plenty more still to come. Can the Prime Minister cling on to power as that resignation letter has flown in? Much more to come here on GB News. There could be resignations before the hour. Is that Andy Burnham, we hear, might be making an announcement. That's next.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we look ahead, we are going to see some of the showers easing, the winds becoming a bit lighter and feeling a little less cool, but we do still have low pressure over Scandinavia. We do still have a northerly flow across the country, so temperatures are staying a little bit below average for the time of year. And there are still plenty of showers around for a little while yet. Some heavy ones could see rainfall totals building up to 10-20 millimetres in some places if you get a fair few of those showers, but actually overnight most places turning largely dry. Showers though continuing for some northern, eastern and western coastal parts. Where we get some dry, clearer weather and you're sheltered from that brisk breeze from the north, while temperatures could drop mid to low single figures, maybe even a touch of frost in some prone spots first thing tomorrow morning. Through tomorrow then, across some parts of Scotland we continue with showers coming in from the north, so northern parts of Scotland seeing plenty of showers, drier further south, kind of south of the central belt, likely to be mostly fine through the start of the day. A similar picture across Northern Ireland, so showers in the far north, dry further south. But for England and Wales, there's actually a swathe of showery rain that's pushing its way southwards, initially across more central areas, but that will feed into southern parts through into the, well, lunchtime area and early afternoon. Otherwise, there will be more dry weather around tomorrow compared to some recent days. It's not totally dry. There will still be showers around northern, western, eastern coastal parts and some of the showers lingering in the far south, but many central areas staying dry, a decent amount of sunshine and slightly less cool than it has been recently. Temperatures maybe a degree or so higher than today, and the winds will be a little bit lighter as well, so that will make it feel less cool as well. More showers to come though through the evening on Friday. They'll be pepping up in a few places. Then into the weekend, whilst there will be plenty of fine weather around, there will also be a bit of rain at times and a slight warming trend into the beginning of next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A9 southbound at Inveralmond roundabout, a broken down vehicle causes a partial blockage. The A470 northbound is congested between Corriton and Nantgarv. The M1 northbound in Leicestershire has a lane closed due to a collision between junctions 20 and 21. The M5 northbound faces 30-minute delays between junctions 17 and 16. The A34 southbound in Hampshire has 20-minute delays between the A272 and M3. And on the trains, Great Western Railway has no trains between Exeter, St David's and Exmouth. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 5 p.m. Welcome to the Morrison Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you until 6 p.m. It's all kicking off, and here's what's coming up on today's show. The resignation is being called. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has resigned from the government in what's been described as the greatest word of the day, the resignation. He steamed into Keir Starmer, blasting he will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election. He further criticised him for sacking staff rather than taking responsibility for his own mistakes. Here's the question: has Wes Streeting fired the starting pistol on the leadership race, or is he firing blanks? And could others such as Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband, or even Andy Burnham, more of that in a moment, launch their own plots to oust Keir Starmer from office? Or, once again, will Keir Starmer cling on to power for a bit longer? Yes, once again, it's a non-stop Starmer drama as the storm clouds gather over Westminster. And for the next hour, GB News will give you a ringside seat live from the Bear Pit in the heart of Westminster. Don't go anywhere. Anything can happen. Welcome to the show. Got some breaking news for you. Been saying all along throughout the last 2 hours, where's Keir? Well, here's your answer, because in the last few moments, Keir Starmer said he was very sorry that Wes Streeting had resigned. He said he hopes they can work together to show that Labour in power can address the problems our opponents exploit. So that's it. The Prime Minister has finally broken his silence, saying he is very sorry that Wes Streeting had resigned, and he hoped that they can work together to show that Labour in power can address the problems our opponents exploit. There's more breaking news coming in a short moment's time. We're hearing that Andy Burnham is set to break his silence this afternoon. There could be a dramatic development. We're hearing rumours he could have secured a seat. Now, we heard that yesterday. Manchester Rusholme was the safe seat he was going to take. It's not a safe seat. It looks like it's going to go to the Green Party, 97%. But we're hearing now Andy Burnham expected to make some kind of announcement in the next hour. We'll, of course, bring you fully up to speed as and when that happens. It's all thickening up. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get in touch. Or scan the QR code on your screens now. But let's have a breather now. Here's your headlines with Lewis Mackenzie.
Thank you very much, Martin. The top stories at 5 o'clock. Wes Streeting has quit as Health Secretary, paving the way for a potential leadership challenge against the Prime Minister. Mr Streeting is widely thought to be planning to challenge Sir Keir Starmer for the Labour leadership. In his resignation letter to Sir Keir, Wes Streeting said, "It's now clear that you will not lead the Labour Party into the next general election." The PM is battling to save his job after 4 ministers quit and dozens of Labour MPs urged him to resign after last week's heavy election losses. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipsson has told reporters Wes Streeting's resignation from government is an opportunity for Labour to draw a line under all of this.
I can't speak for Wes. I think it's a real shame that he's made that decision, because I like and respect Wes. We've worked closely for many, many years. He was a brilliant cabinet colleague. I think he's done a great job as Health Secretary. I'm just sad. I'm sad he's come to that decision. I'd hoped not to be having this conversation, because I think Wes has got a huge amount to offer, and it's a shame that he's taken the decision to step away from cabinet. But that's his decision.
Shortly after Streeting resigned, leader of the opposition Kemi Badenoch released this statement, saying no one is running the country.
I told Wes Streeting to do his job. Instead, he's done a hit job on the Prime Minister. the Labour Party has now descended into civil war. And here's the thing. While they're sharpening their knives and plotting in the bars of Westminster, nobody is running the country.
Angela Rayner, also seen as a potential challenger to the PM, says she has been cleared by HMRC of wrongdoing over her tax affairs. The former Deputy Prime Minister says she settled the £40,000 unpaid bill for a flat near Brighton. She stood down as Deputy PM in September last year after admitting she underpaid stamp duty on her £800,000 flat in Hove. At the time, the Prime Minister's ethics advisor said Rayner acted with integrity, but had breached the ministerial code. The UK economy grew by 0.6% between January and March, according to the Office for National Statistics. This was higher than the 0.5% growth that most economists had been expecting, and marks the highest since the first quarter of 2025. The ONS also said GDP increased by 0.3% in March, surprising economists who had been expecting growth to slow following the war in the Middle East. A man who abused his position as an imam in the local community by pretending to have spiritual powers to coerce and sexually abuse women and girls as young as 12 over more than a decade has been jailed. Abdul Halim Khan from East London has been sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 20 years after being convicted of 21 offences, including rape, sexual assault and child sexual offences against 7 women and girls between 2004 and 2015. Specialist prosecutor at the CPS, Melissa Garner, said he used their deeply held beliefs to instill fear and silence them, making them believe their families would be at risk if they ever spoke out. I hope this prosecution sends a clear message that the CPS will work tirelessly to protect women and girls and bring anyone who commits these appalling crimes to justice. And finally, Chinese President Xi Jinping has called for China and the US to be partners, not rivals, ahead of their high-stakes talks with his US counterpart, Donald Trump, that lasted nearly 2 hours in Beijing. In response, President Trump describes Xi as a great leader and says the relationship between the superpowers will be better than ever before.
The relationship between the American and Chinese people goes all the way back to America's founding. The first American consul to China, Samuel Shaw, arrived on the first American trading ship to reach these shores in 1784. The Chinese merchants had a name for the Americans. They called their visions the New People. 2.5 centuries later, that first connection has grown into one of the most consequential relationships in world history.
Well, those are your latest GB News headlines for now. Now it's your finance.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.34 and 1.15 euros. The price of gold is at £3,474 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 10,342 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Thank you, Lewis. Now then, the Prime Minister has finally broken his silence, because in these past few minutes, the Prime Minister has said in a letter to West Streeting he is, quote, very sorry he has stepped down. The Prime Minister added, I am truly sorry you would no longer be sat at the Cabinet table helping to transform our National Health Service. But I have no doubts you will continue to play an important role in our party for many years to come. I hope we can work together to show that Labour in power can address the problems our opponents exploit, can install hope where they want despair, and can bring people together where they want division. Well, let's speak now with GB News' Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood, who joins us live from Downing Street. We've been saying all afternoon, Tom Harwood, where's Keir? The answer is he's finally broken his silence. Tell us more about this letter.
He has indeed, Martin, and it is a surprisingly, perhaps, reconciliatory letter after a stinging rebuke was written by Wes Streeting against Sir Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer has instead decided to be incredibly reconciliatory, incredibly gracious, and this somehow speaks to his strategy, it seems. If you look at some of the most vociferous defenders of Keir Starmer out there on the airwaves, I know you've interviewed Luke Akehurst, an NEC member and an MP. If we look to people like Steve Reed, some of those closest to Keir Starmer who've been his biggest defenders, they all come from one wing of the party, the Labour right. This is the same area of the party that Wes Streeting comes from. It looks to me like the strategy of the Prime Minister to cling on to the reins of power, to hold on to the keys to that building behind me, is to stay as close as possible to the allies of Wes Streeting, so that he brings them into his cabinet, he brings them into his inner circle, and therefore they do not go off to Wes Streeting. Keir Starmer's biggest element of vulnerability is amongst those on the Labour right, and that is why I think he is going to be so gracious towards Wes Streeting, to try and keep Wes Streeting's allies on his side and stop them declaring against him. It's a delicate balancing act game to play, but if we look at why Wes Streeting perhaps hasn't got those 81 names to his own situation, not that it's a leadership challenge as things stand, but that he can't collect those 81 names as things stand by the looks, perhaps it's because some of those natural pool of potential supporters are staying with the Prime Minister, and that is part of that strategy that we're seeing play out in that letter. I have to say, Martin, I'm actually not alone on this street for GB News for once. I'm actually joined by one of our household names. It is Michelle Dewberry with me here. Michelle, welcome to Downing Street. How are you finding it?
I'm finding it fabulous because I decided to come here and just practice walking up and down the street a little bit for the days when I become Prime Minister. I thought I'd get my practice steps in now. Only kidding, there's only one place to be right now today. We're seeing political history unfolding right in front of our very eyes. Fantastic show coming up at 6 o'clock. You know, for me, it's just watching the public reaction to this. People, you have that tacker meme, Trump always chickens out. What about whacker? People are suggesting, Wes, is he going to chicken out of this? Has he peaked a little bit too early? Are we going to see the starting pistol really gain momentum as the evening progresses? Absolutely fascinating stuff.
I'm loving the term wacko. Martin Daubney has been promoting the term resignation, which I think is also absolutely fantastic.
Well, give me that microphone. Martin Daubney, have you been listening in on my private conversations, young man? Because I think I coined that phrase, resignation. I had it ready and primed for 6 o'clock tonight, but there you go, whacker. I'll take that one instead.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, Martin, it's all happening here on Downing Street. Back to you.
I'm always stealing Michelle Dewberry's best line. She knows that. Thank you, the pair of you. Looking beautiful there down at Downing Street. Let's get back to the studio now. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by GB News' chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, and also by the chief political commentator at the iPaper, that's Kitty Donaldson. Kitty, let's come to you first, if I may, because development, dramatic development this hour, expecting to hear from the man of the moment, Andy Burnham. Tell us, we're going to hear from him, and we seem to have another rumour of a seat, safe seat he's been linked to. Tell us more.
Well, I don't think any seat's particularly safe these days. So last night we were hearing Manchester Rusholme, and now we're hearing Josh Simon's seat of Makerfield, which is near Wigan, for Andy Burnham to stand in to come down to Parliament. We should, I mean, this is just speculation at the moment, I should just point that out, and we're hearing from Andy Burnham hopefully within the next 10 minutes or so. So we'll wait and see, but Josh Simon's seat, he is a former minister. He was forced to step down earlier in the year after one of his Labour pressure group looked into some journalists. But it's a seat, I think it's a 5,500 majority, something like that. I haven't got the figures in front of me.
Yeah.
But with Reform very much in second place. So it could be very interesting. I mean, the interesting thing about Manchester Rusholme was that the Greens were in second place, and it could have easily gone Green. And now, if true, Andy Burnham could be, you know, if Nigel Farage chucks the kitchen sink at it, this could be very embarrassing for the Labour Party.
You're entirely right, too. I'm trying to get a graphic ready to get on screen because this has literally just been sprung upon us. As you say there, Kitty, Makerfield. It is western Manchester, northwest, the county area. You're correct. Good memory. The majority, 5,399 at the last general election. Josh Simon securing 18,202, but in second place on 12,803, Reform UK. If you look at the electoral calculus prediction for right now, if a general election took place right now, this seat is predicted to go to Reform by an 82% chance. So this is a seat. So Manchester Rusholme yesterday, Kitty, when that one was the seat of the day, Afzal Khan's, and as you said, we've been up this hill many times before.
Yeah, we really have.
That was a 97% chance to go to the Green Party.
Yeah.
Now, this is perfectly summarising the Labour Party's dichotomy. On the one hand, they're being attacked by the Greens, on the other by Reform UK. If Andy Burnham goes for this seat, Nigel Farage will be steaming in for the by-election of the century.
I know, can you imagine? And we're not in a local election campaign where all the resources are kind of spread out over the country. Reform, which can outspend Labour by, I don't know, 5 to 1 at the moment, perhaps, will just throw everything they've got at it. And then, of course, you've got to, if this is true and Andy Burnham does take the seat, you've got to fight the Greater Manchester mayoralty, possibly at the same time. I was talking to someone last night saying it might cost a couple of £100,000 just starting from scratch. And then, but where do Reform will chuck their money at that as well, presumably?
And if there is a by-election fought in an area where Reform, the metrics are in their favour at the moment, it's a huge risk for Andy Burnham. I mean, he'll have to surrender the mayoralty.
Yep.
He'll go in as a by-election. If Reform go all against it and he loses that seat, he's finished.
Yes, but I think what we're underestimating is the kind of slightly cult levels of adoration for Andy Burnham up in the northwest. I think he really is popular. I saw that up in Gordon and Denton, lots of people saying, we absolutely love Andy and we wish he'd stood. So I don't think you can underestimate his personal brand up there.
But it would be Farage versus Burnham. Catherine Fawcett, you've got a new line for us.
So, big moment. We've been hearing rumours of a seat for Andy Burnham for, feels like forever.
Yeah.
Now confirmation. Josh Simons has just tweeted.
There we go.
And he has said, for decades, Westminster has overseen the managed decline of towns like mine. We've talked big and acted small, etc., etc. He goes down and he says, I'm putting the people I represent and the country I love first. I will be resigning as MP for Makerfield. I am standing aside so that Andy Burnham can return to his home, fight to re-enter Parliament, and if elected, drive the change our country is crying out for. He says it's not been an easy decision. He said we must all make choices. In recent days, I found myself with a difficult one. Defend the status quo or step forward and act. I have made my choice. And he said, my party has got one last chance to change lives for the better, deliver for the people, places I represent, etc., etc., and change a status quo that is not working. That is the fight. I believe Andy is the one to lead it.
So,
wow.
Kitty, there we have it. Confirmation. There's been so many rumours, as you said, so that you've been up this hill so many times. Confirmation there from the sitting parliamentarian, Josh Simons, in Makerfield. He's gifted his seat to Andy Burnham. Game on.
Absolutely, game on. I suspect, this is very cynical of me, but we're seeing Josh Simons and Ermin quite soon.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Takes their seat in the House of Lords by the end of the year, if we see an Andy Burnham premiership. But you're right, it's exciting. So often in the last few months, we've been looking at Andy Burnham and wondering whether he has got a route back to Parliament. And I think today shows a real start in the Labour leadership campaign, actually. What had been sort of a phony war for the last few days after the local election now seems to have broken out very much into the open. We had Wes Streeting at lunchtime, very critical in his letter to the Prime Minister. And now we're seeing Andy Burnham as well. And just by the virtue of the fact him taking this seat shows that he's got his eyes set on Westminster and he's coming back. And he's only coming back for one reason.
And Kitty, in terms of the time frame, a by-election can be called how quickly, and the campaigning period. That's a 6-week window. So what's the nearest we could get in terms of the pure metrics of Andy Burnham? It's a long way, the route to victory. Get it on your screens. Here is the data I was telling you about. Electoral calculus right now, if you go into the current polling for that area, and there were a great number of local elections in this area last Thursday. We'll try and dig those out, because this is literally just breaking on the show now. Makerfield, as you can see, the majority at the last election was quite decent, 5,399, but of course the country has radically changed since then. At present, electoral calculus has Reform UK of winning this seat by a margin of 82% certainty versus 17% Labour. No other parties, even at the races. The Green Party has no sway here. It's a very white working class area. Conservatives 0%, Liberal Democrats 0%, Gaza Independents not even at the races. But of course, Kitty, Andy Burnham is the magic man. The Labour Party will think these numbers could mean nothing. Andy Burnham, they think, is the man to blow these stats out of the water and get him back into Downing Street.
Just hang on a second, though. He's got to get past the National Executive Committee, the Labour ruling body, in order to be allowed to stand here. The NEC blocked him last time. I think things have changed since then. There's been a lot of moral pressure, lots of Labour MPs saying, basically, to Starmer, you've got to let him stand. Starmer was the big block last time. I suspect that Starmer won't stand in his way, having listened to the will of the party. Having said that, on the time scale, you've still got to get a writ moved in order to have a by-election. That can take, I think, between 4 and 6 weeks, so we're looking at 4 weeks. Got to have a selection process. The local party will have a say. The local Labour Party will have a say in who gets to be their candidate. I don't think, realistically speaking, they're going to turn down Andy Burnham with all his kind of, stardust. They're not going to turn him down as their candidate. People in that area in Manchester are crying out for Andy Burnham to stand and represent them. But so we're looking between 4 and 6 weeks, provided the NEC doesn't stand in his way.
Do you think they will do that? Or do you think now the NEC can just smell the wind and just say, look, we can't carry on with this vacuum, this stagnation, this fog. We have to break through.
Well, one of the people on the NEC subcommittee last time was Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, and she was on Keir Starmer's side. I think after reports that she went in to see the Prime Minister to say, you need to set a timetable for your departure, I think probably Shabana Mahmood now comes down on the other side. And, she's just one vote in many, but we know Lucy Powell was also on that subcommittee of 10, I think it was. She's very clearly said she wants Andy Burnham back in Parliament. So I think the numbers are slowly but surely shifting towards Burnham being allowed back in through the NEC.
Catherine Forster, how's this news being received? I mean, it's just literally broken in these past few moments. Just to bring people up to speed there, we can see the parliamentarian for the Labour Party in Makerfield. You can see on your screens there the gentleman, Josh Simons, has just announced on social media his intention to stand down and gift Andy Burnham his seat to potential routes back to Downing Street. Catherine, perhaps you could read out some of Mr Simon's statement for our viewers and listeners, as this has literally just broken these past few minutes.
Yes, so he begins by saying, for decades, Westminster has overseen the managed decline of towns like mine, talked big and acted small. Stuck in a politics of incrementalism that can never meet the moment. We've lost the trust of those our party was built to serve. We saw all those working class communities turning away from Labour last week. And he says, I'm putting the people I represent, the country I love first, and will be resigning as MP for Makerfield. I'm standing aside so that Andy Burnham can return to his home, fight to re-enter Parliament, and if elected, drive the change our country is crying out for. And then he goes on to say, we must all make choices, and he's had to make a difficult one, defend the status quo or step forward and act. And he said he's in politics, that's how you change lives for the better, and that the Labour Party has got one last chance to do that. He said, that's the fight. I believe Andy is the one to lead it.
OK, Catherine, Kitty, please bear with us for a moment if we could. We need to get back to Downing Street now and get to GBNews' Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood. Tom, game on. The starting pistol has been well and truly fired now. The king over the water, the man they call the King of the North, seemingly has a potential throne to sit on. Tell us all about it.
This is absolutely monumental, Martin. I think one of the interesting elements here is the side of the party that Josh Simons was seen to come from. Josh Simons used to run a group called Labour Together, seen to be something of a sort of Labour right think tank. Now, it was originally one of the think tanks that helped Keir Starmer become leader of the Labour Party, defeating the Labour left representative of Rebecca Long-Bailey back in the 2020 leadership contest. It is absolutely fascinating that it is Simons, rather than someone on the soft left, who has given up their seat for Andy Burnham. The fact that Simons, someone that has been associated with the right of the Labour Party for his brief parliamentary career, and let's not forget, he is a young MP. He's someone who is barely into his 30s. He was elected in 2024. He's been in his seat for less than 2 years and is now giving it up for Andy Burnham. It is fascinating that this is someone from the Labour right who is now associated with Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham himself, someone for recent years at least, very much not been associated with the Labour right. And I'm reminded of something that was said in Wes Streeting's own resignation letter, that he wanted this to be a broad contest, that Wes Streeting in his resignation letter did not fire the starting gun on a contest, did not declare his own candidacy. Indeed, Wes Streeting's resignation letter is compatible with Wes Streeting backing someone else for the leadership. I'm not saying this is the most likely thing, far from it, but it is now entirely possible that there won't be a contest at all, that this could turn into a coronation. If Andy Burnham is able to make some deals with some figures from the soft left of the Labour Party and the Labour right, and let's remember, out of the almost 100 Labour MPs who have called for Keir Starmer to go, it is fairly non-denominational. There are people there from the Labour left, the Labour right. There are careerists in that pool of MPs as well. Now, if Andy Burnham can build together a coalition across the Labour Party, his candidacy could begin to be seen as unstoppable. Let's not forget, the NEC is an incredibly factional beast within the Labour Party. And the subcommittee of the NEC, the 9 individuals who choose by-election candidates, they are seen as being incredibly factionally controlled. Is one of the ways that Andy Burnham might be able to burst his way into the shortlist for selection for Makerfield, that he could make a deal with the Labour right? Could he even make a deal with Wes Streeting? Just speculation at this stage, but I think it is really interesting to read into just who it is who has given up their seat for Andy Burnham.
Thank you very much there, Tom Holwood, live for us at Downing Street. Huge reaction already to the dramatic news if you're joining us in this past half hour. The Labour Party MP Josh Simons is standing down as the MP in Makerfield in the northwest and the Wigan area to make way for Andy Burnham. He said he took this decision so that the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, can, quotes, return to his home, fight to re-enter Parliament and, if elected, drive the change our country is crying out for. Quick bit of reaction in the studio. Kitty, there's reaction already from politicians in the area, Labourites, and they're not at all happy.
No, they're pointing out that locally every seat went to Reform last week, and that actually this is a totally unnecessary by-election that Labour, which by the way doesn't have much cash, is going to have to fight. And there's a certain, I think, hint of the ego about this that some MPs are picking up on. Pat McFadden has also commented, one thing I've learned in politics is that MPs don't get to pick their successors, which is absolutely true. I don't think people up and down the country particularly like being told who to vote for, which is effectively what Josh Simons has done. And I think that might stand against the Labour candidate if it's Andy Burnham or if it isn't.
And Kitty Donaldson, we're expecting, are we not, shortly to hear from Andy Burnham.
Yeah,
we believe he's been speaking to the press, so a statement will be coming out from him soon. This is obviously all done behind closed doors, but it's gone out there. Isn't it fascinating, Kitty, how the local councillors are saying, you might have made a mistake here, because we've been speaking so often on this channel, no doubt you're doing your daily work too. Where are these so-called safe seats? Manchester Rusholme wasn't a safe seat to the Green Party. This is by no means, no stretch of the imagination, is this going to be, Makerfield going to be a safe seat for Andy Burnham. 82% chance of winning at current metrics. Of course, that's not with Burnham attached. Reform UK will be licking their lips at this by-election.
They will, but as I said before, I do think what's underestimated is just the kind of brand recognition of Andy Burnham up in the northwest. Everywhere you go, if you go out there and he's out and about, everyone stops Andy Burnham. They want to speak to him. He's incredibly popular across the board, even with Green voters, probably with some Reform voters too, just because of what he's done for Manchester actually. And Manchester economy has been growing at about 3 times the rate of the national average. Largely down to measures that the mayor has put in place. I think he's got a pretty good case for winning the seat, even if Reform chucks the kitchen sink at it.
Just hearing from one of my followers here, Jo, Lactics Josie, she lives in the area. She's saying, this is my town. This is about as far from a safe Labour seat as you can get. What a bloodbath this by-election is going to be. And Catherine Forster, isn't that the point? As we're waiting to hear from Andy Burnham, the man of the moment, his broken cover named his seat. The full scrutiny of the media, the full finances, the full ground game, activists, parliamentarians. This would be the by-election of the century, because if Andy Burnham can be stopped, if a future Prime Minister potentially can be decapitated by Reform, what a victory that will be. And on the other side of that, if Andy Burnham, as Kitty says, has the personal cachet and brand and status to overcome the might of the Reform machine, what a prospect.
It's all or nothing, this, isn't it? It's the highest stakes for Andy Burnham, because he's going to have to resign as Mayor of Greater Manchester. If he loses this seat, as he well might, then he's left high and dry with absolutely nothing. But, of course, if he wins it, the chances are he's going to go on and be Prime Minister. And, yes, Labour had a majority of 5,000 over Reform in 2024, but that feels like a very, very long time ago. If you look at the latest polling, if there was a general election tomorrow, 82% chance of Reform winning, and Reform will throw everything at this. All I would say is, so many people think that Andy Burnham is really Labour's only hope of taking on Reform, that he has something special. He is very popular in the Northwest, King of the North, and of course we've had so many Southern leaders having a potential Prime Minister from the North, but my goodness, the stakes could not be higher.
And Kitty, I wonder if, thinking about the words from that resignation letter, as it's now been called, from earlier on, well, about 100 times, but on a serious point, that this concurrent theme is emerging of Reform UK being seen as dark, dangerous. This Prime Minister on Monday, today, a dangerous English nationalism represented by Nigel Farage and Reform UK, saying it's our historic responsibility to defeat racism. I think we can expect, can't we, a lot of that in this by-election. In many senses, it will be portrayed as this kind of moral battle between a future of progressive, liberal, Labour values, or the dark side of racism, whereas Nigel Farage will say this is a chance just to finish Labour off for good.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the David Davis by-election back in the day, which was a kind of referendum on free speech. And I think you're right. I think Labour will, when they get over their kind of shock at this happening, the kind of party will pull together and make this a referendum on racism. I think that's quite a good way for them to spin it, because otherwise you're making it a referendum on Starmer, which frankly no one in the Labour Party wants.
A referendum on Farage. I think that's what they could say. If you want to stop Farage, then you need to get behind Burnham.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because what you absolutely don't want is a referendum on Starmer.
OK, thank you very much, Kitty. Let's get back now to our man at Downing Street, our Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood. Tom, it's happening quickly. What's the latest?
It's happening very quickly indeed, Martin, and I've just got off the phone with Nigel Farage, who tells me that the Reform Party is going to throw absolutely everything at the seat of Makerfield in the upcoming by-election. Nigel tells me that the Reform Party is up for the fight, and it sounds like the Reform Party is going to throw, in the words of Nigel Farage, throw everything at it. They are going to have an absolutely enormous campaign. They believe they can win this seat. In the wider council area that contains Makerfield, Wigan, Reform won 25 out of 25 council seats. An independent lost 1 seat. Labour lost 24 seats in that area, all of them went to Reform. The Reform Party is confident, and they really do believe they can put up a hell of a showing there in Makerfield. They think that perhaps they could even win that seat and deny Andy Burnham a path back to Parliament. And there is precedent for this. Some precedent, if we think back all the way to 1965 and the Leighton by-election. There was a man called Patrick Gordon Walker. He was a big beast in the Labour Party in the 1960s. And he lost his seat in the 1964 general election. Harold Wilson appointed him Foreign Secretary anyway and decided to find one of the safest seats in the country for Patrick Gordon Walker. So he put a chap in the House of Lords, the MP for Leighton, and said, Patrick, you're going to stand there. And this was supposed to be the safest possible seat for the Labour Party to win. Do you know what? The Tories won it. Turns out, mid-term, seats hand-picked so that some people can just parachute in and go straight to the cabinet. Well, sometimes the electorate do not like that. It's worth saying in 1965 the Labour Party was unpopular due to a policy it had to withhold uprating of pensions over that winter period. So pensioners couldn't pay for as much winter fuel as they previously thought they might. Oh, the parallels, I think, are pretty stark there. But the Labour Party has tried this trick before, and the one time they tried to parachute someone who had lost a seat in an election into a seat where someone had resigned specifically for them, they lost it.
Tom Harwood, astonishing news. Thank you very much, and including that breaking news line there. Got off the phone from Nigel Farage. Just if you're joining us, it's at 5:35. By-election very much now looking game on in the constituency of Makerfield. Nigel Farage saying he will throw everything at the by-election to try and keep Andy Burnham out of power. Let's join my next guest now, the Liberal Democrat MP for Harrogate and Nesborough. That is Tom Gordon. Tom, a by-election to end all by-elections awaits. Reform UK versus Andy Burnham. Nigel Farage saying there he will throw the kitchen sink at it. Quite a prospect.
Well, it's just an absolute mess, isn't it? I think the country at the last general election threw the Conservatives out because they were fed up, sick and tired of the soap opera psychodrama that we saw. And now it's just followed the Labour Party into number 10. And we're set talking about the internal party politics of the Labour Party rather than actually trying to fix the country when people are really suffering. The money in the pockets is not going far enough. There's a war in the Middle East, a war in Ukraine, and yet we're now set to be hearing about the beauty pageant or potential coronation of the next Prime Minister for the Labour Party. It just absolutely slaps of complacency and complete contempt for the British public.
It speaks to me, though, Tom Gordon, of something else. This, I think, is much more than a by-election. This is the potential future left-wing socialist Prime Minister, progressive, who wants to rejoin the European Union. We haven't been talking a great deal about Andy Burnham's politics, but he's a high-tax, high-spend, left-wing rejoiner versus whoever Nigel Farage puts up. Wow, what candidate are they going to put into that seat? Who go toe-to-toe with Burnham? But we've already heard today Wes Streeting talking about dangerous nationalism. We've heard Keir Starmer talking about dark forces, dangerous people. This, I think, will be a battle for the political soul of the future of the country. And if the Labour Party lose, they're dead. They're dead.
Well, it's a really good point and a really, really good sort of question, isn't it? What's going to happen? Who knows? This is very early days. The idea that it's a slam dunk and a safe seat is for the birds. I think, that's very much a question that no one's really thinking about is it definitely going to be a safe seat? Absolutely not. I think that's the only thing that anyone knows at this point. We've just seen in the local elections that the British electorate is fragmenting in any which way. All the votes are up for grabs. And the idea that Andy Burnham can just waltz into Downing Street, he's got loads of political challenges in the way as well before he even gets there. Will the Labour NEC allow it? There's no guarantee of that. Would he win a leadership election? There's no guarantee of that. I don't want to sort of put dampeners on it. The idea that Andy Burnham could even end up standing is still yet to be seen. I mean, if Labour have got any sense, they'd try and stop this resignation because I think it does throw a massive grenade into, already an ongoing psychodrama. Andy Burnham is popular in Greater Manchester, and then obviously there's a complexity that if he did win, then he would end up having to resign as mayor of Greater Manchester, where they'd have an even bigger by-election on their hands. We've just seen last week, Labour have been battered in every corner of our United Kingdom. People are really cheesed off, really unhappy. And the idea that the British public want to see more of that psychodrama playing out on our streets and in our communities is for the birds.
OK, Tom Gordon, thank you very much for joining us. You've got the live pictures on our screens there now of Downing Street, the rain pouring down, a metaphor for the mood in the Labour Party. Let's now speak with our next guest. It's the Reform UK MP for Ashfield, Lee Anderson. Lee Anderson, talking about raining, no doubt you'd like to rain on Keir Starmer's parade. Reform UK will be gunning for this by-election, surely.
Well, we will. We saw last week, Martin, how much ground we made up in these red wall areas. And, on the back of the letter that Wes sent in today to the Prime Minister, calling Reform voters far-right English nationalists and, having a real pop at our voters in these red wall areas, it seems that the Labour Party have given up on the red wall. They want to give it away. So this will be a real challenge for the Labour Party. And I think it's a bit smug of Andy Burnham to think he can just waltz into this seat and win it and become the Prime Minister of our great country. I think he's in for a rude awakening when he at the count on the night in Makerfield.
Well, Nigel Farage has already said to our man Tom Harwood, no, bring it on. Going to throw everything at this by-election. Your leader says we look forward to this contest. And I put it to you again, Lee Anderson, this is more than a by-election, although it will undoubtedly be the by-election of the century. It could see a potential Prime Minister being stopped in his tracks. And, of course, it'll be Reform UK who want to do that. Do you see this as more than a by-election, but a battle for the political direction of our country?
I'm not sure about that, Martin, to be honest. I don't think Andy Burnham's the one that's going to save the Labour Party. I think whoever comes in as leader, they're going to lose the next election anyway. What we want to do is have more MPs in Parliament. I'm fully confident, on the back of the results last week, in that neck of the woods, we were winning, in some areas, every single council seat. So, I say bring it on to Andy Burnham, and we can win there. I think we can win. We can put a real good show up. We'll be campaigning ferociously. I'll be up there every single week now to campaign on behalf of whichever candidate we choose there. We've got a real chance. And forget about Andy Burnham. This is us against Labour.
The man who beats Burnham for Reform in a by-election would probably go down in political history. Any ideas who's got big enough shoes to fill those boots?
I don't know. What are you doing for the next 6 weeks, Martin?
Report it. Oh, I can't even report on this, can I? That's the thing. We won't even be allowed to report on the by-election of the century because these blooming Purdah laws. We've just come out of Purdah and we're about to go into another one.
I know, you're absolutely right. Okay, no, we've got loads of people that want to stand for some really good people, some professional people from normal working class backgrounds as well. And like I said, Martin, I keep harping onto the council results last week. 3.8 million people voted for us in the council elections. Just last week, we had 4.1 million voted for us at the general election. So look how far we've come in just a couple of years. We fear nobody.
Yep. OK, Lee, just to interject, it is now confirmed from the horse's mouth, as it were. Breaking news, Andy Burnham has just announced in these past few seconds that he will be requesting the permission to stand in that by-election in Makerfield. In a statement, he said this: I can confirm that I will be requesting the permission of the NEC to stand in the Makerfield by-election. Lee Anderson, quick word from you before I let you go. The NEC, could they stand in the way? Could they rain on Burnham's parade?
Well, they did last time, Martin, and I said that before the end of the year, when the NEC have their elections, whenever they are, they would elect people that would allow Andy to stand. Now, I don't know how that's changed in the meantime, but like you say, you're quite right, it's up to the NEC. But more importantly, it's up to the local association as well. You can't just waltz into an association and demand a seat. It's up to them.
So, Lee Anderson, before I let you go, final message. If Andy Burnham's listening to you now, Reform UK clearly going to throw the kitchen sink at this. What's your message to Andy Burnham?
We're not scared of you.
There we go. That sums it all up. Lee Anderson, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. I appreciate your time. Just to confirm, if you're joining us now at 5:42, Andy Burnham now confirming that he is, from the horse's mouth, standing as a candidate for the Labour Party, seeking the permission, beg your pardon, to stand in Makerfield. Look at the storm clouds over Westminster. Look at those skies, they black, bruised clouds, dumping rain down on Downing Street, dumping down from the heavens. Could that be a metaphor for the Labour Party's fortunes in what will, Catherine Forster, be the by-election of the century? A future Prime Minister against Reform UK. At the moment, they're down to win this seat by 82%. Those are the scores on the doors. Andy Burnham has issued that statement. Catherine Forster, what's in it?
Yes, so he's saying, I grew up in this area, have lived here for 25 years. I care deeply about it and its people. I know they have been let down by national politics. He talks about leaving Westminster 10 years ago, and he said he'd come to the conclusion that our national political system does not work for areas like ours. And he then goes on to talk about what he's achieved in Greater Manchester, £2 fare cap, etc., and so on and so forth. But he said there's only so much that can be done for Greater Manchester. Much bigger change is needed at a national level if everyday life is to be made affordable again. And that is why he says he's trying to come back. He says to bring the change they've brought to Greater Manchester to the whole of the UK, make politics work properly for people. Millions are struggling, and so on and so forth. Pays credit to Josh Simons, and he says at the end, I truly do not take a single vote for granted. I will work hard to regain the trust of people in the Makerfield constituency, many of whom have long supported our party but lost faith in recent times. We will change Labour for the better, make it a party you can believe in. Again, at the risk of sounding a little bit overstating, I really feel like, first of all, I predict that the NEC will not block Andy Burnham again, because I just feel the Prime Minister's position is much too weak. I think there would be absolute uproar. So I think they will let him stand. But this by-election, to me, is almost like jumping ahead to a general election in 3 years' time, because it seems to me that it will fundamentally be Nigel Farage versus Andy Burnham.
Yep.
If Nigel Farage wins, that is horrendous for Labour. But if Andy Burnham wins, problems for Reform, maybe.
Peter Edwards, the former editor of Labour List, joins me in the studio. Before we go into the data, because I've been sent some data here from councillors who stood in elections last week in that area, in the Makersfield wards, as assigned by ONS. In 8 of those wards, Reform won all of them. Reform won the last set of elections comprehensively. They got 50% of the vote. Labour only got 22% of the vote. Reform UK more than double the vote of Labour in this constituency, in the wards at the council election. They won all 8. They won every partial ward. But, Peter Edwards, can Brand Burnham overcome those odds?
Quite possibly. What a massive day of news it's been. I don't want to call it purple prose because Reform are purple, but you were waxing lyrical. I think everyone is reeling. I think, first of all, Catherine's right, and I don't always say that about GB News correspondents, but I have a different view of the world, you might say, but it's very, very, very likely Andy Burnham will get through Labour's ruling committee, the NEC, and be chosen as a candidate. And then in terms of looks like a Labour versus Reform face-off in Makerfield, I think Andy Burnham stands every chance of winning. And yes, I'm the first to admit it, Labour got absolutely hammered in the recent local authority elections, but the eyes of the nation are going to be on Makerfield if it comes to a general election there with Andy Burnham. And Andy Burnham brings all the clout from being a cabinet minister, a man who can speak up for the NHS, he was Health Secretary, and has been a pretty successful Mayor of Manchester, and he's got re-elected, and he's from the Northwest. He's scrupulous, not taking a vote for granted, but he's going to be feeling much, much happier than he was just 24 hours ago because he's got a route back to number 10.
Or has he? Because this is much more than high-stakes poker. This is all in. This is all or nothing. This could be the end of Andy Burnham's entire political career. If he loses, he'll have to surrender the mayoralty of Manchester. He's widely liked, but he's missed the opportunity of being in the big chair. But he's going all in. He's going all in on a high-stakes poker game here because the metrics say he's going to lose.
Which metrics?
The predictions from electoral calculus, the multi-poll analysis. Of course, they aren't with Andy Burnham's name associated to it, and polling undoubtedly will shift because Burnham's Burnham. He has that cut through. But this is by no stretch of the imagination anything approaching a safe seat.
No, correct. And I've not heard anyone say it's a safe seat. And I think Labour have had a bucket of cold water thrown over their face in the last week or two. So they're going to be very sober about what happens next. But to run through very briefly what happens, you know, Burnham, I think on a technical point, will have to give up the mayoralty because I think Labour rules these days don't allow him to be a candidate while a mayor. He'll give that up. He's very likely, as Catherine said, to be selected by the NEC as a Makerfield candidate. I think he's got a very good chance of winning. What is totally unknown, of course, is if, and we're not at this stage yet, we're a long way off it, but if it comes to a leadership contest between Andy Burnham, newly back as an MB, and Keir Starmer, who is automatically on the ballot paper for Labour leadership under current Labour rules, who would win that? There's a lot of polls flying around today, but of course that's before the first whistle has even been blown on a contest. A lot's going to change over the next 4 weeks.
OK, thank you very much. We'll get to my next guest now. Delighted to be joined by the Chief Political Correspondent for The Times, Aubrey Allegretti. Aubrey, here we go. All to play for. The starting pistol has been fired. It will only be the by-election of the century.
It's a completely topsy-turvy day in Westminster. Obviously, Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, sort of almost loaded the gun, but didn't quite fire it by resigning, but then not managing seemingly to get 81 MPs to support him to trigger a contest. Well, the man who swept in seemingly to do it on his behalf is Andy Burnham. Now, obviously, you've just been talking about the demographics of this seat and how the local elections Reform did really, really well, getting 50% of the vote in 8 wards. Labour trailing on about 22% of the vote. I think that just goes to show how high the stakes are here. This is going to be a proof of concept by-election for Andy Burnham. He needs to come in and show that if he wins it, he is the man that can take Labour to victory at the next election, neutralise that Reform threat. But of course, he still faces 1 or 2 hurdles on his way there, including getting the approval of the NEC, as you were talking about, and then pulling off that win in the first place. So a really momentous day that's going to fire the starting gun on a good sort of 5 or 6 weeks of a lot of frantic scrambling about Keir Starmer's future.
Allegretti, Gorton and Denton was a dirty by-election. By Jove, this by-election could be astonishingly brutal. Andy Burnham, we've already heard Wes Streeting today talking about dark forces, about racism, about the rising poison of nationalism. Andy Burnham will put himself forward, I think, as a candidate. This is the choice between a dark future of Reform UK, the racist divided Britain, or a Labour Party to clean that mess up. And Reform UK will come into bat and saying this is the way to kill the Labour Party that doesn't give a damn about the working classes. In this area of Makerfield, you're exactly right. All 8 wards last Thursday went to Reform UK. It was a whitewash in the area. This is the ultimate risk for Andy Burnham. If he loses here, he's finished.
It certainly is. And again, when you look at the way that the area voted in the Brexit referendum, Wigan as a whole was, I think, 64% pro-Brexit, leaving the EU. So it is clearly in Reform's favour. I suppose, unlike Gorton and Denton, where obviously the Greens did pull off their win, the Greens came 5th here at the last general election. So that's no suggestion that they won't do significantly better. But I suppose at the argument that this will be more of a sort of two-way fight between Reform and Labour will be made loud and clear. Now, Labour strategists say they realise they got a lot wrong during the last by-election campaign, and they do at least have lots of sort of recent data and lessons learned to be able to try and help them in this instance. But Andy Burnham's own personal ratings will really be tested here. How much can he elevate the Labour Party's brand in Makerfield, and therefore how compelling is that case for how much he can elevate Labour's poll ratings nationally across the country in 2029? That's the argument that we'll be hearing today. Now, Wes Streeting supporters, I think they've become quite sanguine. They've realised that even if they rushed to have a contest very quickly, that by excluding Andy Burnham, it would be storing up big problems for them later down the line. One of them said, we need to scratch the itch. He has to be allowed to stand in the leadership contest that they think will be forthcoming. Otherwise, he'll just remain this kind of knight over the water who can snipe from the sidelines and potentially be very destabilising to a future leader who Wes Streeting's allies obviously think would be him. But I think they've realised now that this is going to be a race that includes him.
Let's face it, the resignation letter, as it's now been called, was only this morning, but Wes Streeting is already yesterday's man. No one's interested in Wes Streeting anymore. So let's face it, no one cares. This is Andy Burnham versus Reform UK. Streeting's history.
Well, I mean, I suppose so, although at least in Wes Streeting's favour, he's only been an MP since 2015. Andy Burnham left the Commons in 2017 after a long career in Parliament, including serving as a cabinet minister under New Labour. So he's really sort of trying to come and reinvent himself. He himself has obviously stood and lost, I think, in 2 leadership contests in 2010 and 2015. So he's tried and failed twice before. Maybe it'll be third time lucky. Wes Streeting, I'm sure he would be very unhappy at being called yesterday's man, considering he's not had a go just yet. But he does definitely risk being left sort of in the dust by Andy Burnham, who is marching ahead while Wes Streeting has sort of said his piece. He's done the first half, which is resigning, but he hasn't shown that he's got the numbers to be able to get over the line. He hasn't got that momentum in the way that Andy Burnham does seem to.
From resignation to yesterday's man in one day. Isn't politics a brutal business? Aubrey Allegretti, thank you very much for your expertise. As ever, Chief Political Correspondent for The Times there, Aubrey Allegretti. Now, what a treat we have in store for you. Hoving into view like a vision, Michelle Dewberry. Jubes and Co from Downing Street. What a night to be presented from Downing Street, because it's all happening. Astonishing.
Isn't it just, and I think that you've just summed it up well. In the back there, I was just saying somebody is going to make their move pre-6 o'clock, just before 6 o'clock, because they will want to dominate the headliners.
Yeah.
They will want to be the front page news. Andy Burnham has just delivered that. Got a packed out show tonight. I've got Richard Tice, I've got Aaron Bastani, Ian Duncan-Smith, and I'm texting Andy Burnham as we speak to try and get him down the line as well to give his take. But I think you're absolutely spot on. Wes Streeting, it feels, doesn't it, like his yesterday's news? It feels a two-horse race.
Chip paper. It's chip paper already, because it's moving so quickly. And, you know, what we're going to see, I think, now is a battle, not just for this seat. That's a sideshow. It's not just a battle for the future of the Labour Party. It is. It's a battle, I think, for the heart and soul of the future of British politics. Do we go down the route of Reform UK being the force, or do they try and put it back to there's only one way of saving the country, and that is by voting Farage out? It's going to be warfare.
Well, also, Michael Ellis, he's going to be coming in a couple of minutes with me as well. He's got some interesting facts that he will share with us, because this is not a straight line. People will think, oh, yeah, he's gone, so now a by-election is going to happen, and that's definitely going to happen. Actually, as Michael Ellis will explain to us all, it's not that straightforward. Keir Starmer can still stick his oar in to try and prevent this, if indeed that is what he wants to do. I'm telling you, ladies and gents, popcorn at the ready.
If Keir Starmer gets in the way, he will never be forgiven.
Well,
he'll never be forgiven. Stand aside,
I know,
Starmer.
but hold on a minute, because people said that about him last time. If he tries to block Burnham from standing last time, everyone thought he didn't have the chops to do it. He had the chops, he did it. So never underestimate Keir Starmer. That's what I'm starting to think today.
Well, we understand that Andy Burnham has spoken. There is a video coming. We'll have that on Jubes and Co. I don't even want to leave the studio, but I'm going to go to the pub for an hour. I'm back at 7. We're going to do GB News tonight, and this story is going to grow and grow and grow. Catherine Forster, you've been epic today. Jubes and Co. is up next. Apart from this, there's only one story in town.
There is only one story in town, and I'm telling you right now, it is the fastest moving story. So get yourself seated, comfortable, get yourself strapped in, ladies and gents. Experts on the way. Burnham reaction on the way. God, how exciting!
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.